Second year of Great Xia, December 29. As night fell, the underground main area of the beehive came alive. The 2,000 warriors of the Cloud Dragon Army and the Dragon Martial Army had donned their war armors early, picked up their strong bows and weapons, and quickly assembled at the exit of the main area's iron gate. On the top floor hall of the main building, more than 200 people gathered, with most chatting cheerfully except for a few sitting solemnly at the front. "Ha ha ha, old he, you broke through too." "Luck, I just broke through half a month ago." "Old Yang, you're not bad either, you broke through just last night, right?" "Just made it in time, otherwise entering the martial arts academy would have been for nothing." "Ha ha ha, I broke through last night too, 1 day later and I would have missed it." In the front row, Xiao Qingcheng looked around at over 200 people, with an expression of disbelief. Of course, he wasn't the only one in disbelief. Beside him was Xiao Yuan, who was also counting heads and then turned to Xiao Qingcheng in astonishment. 210 people, that's a bit exaggerated, so many have broken through in less than a month. Since when did cold resistance level become so cheap? Hearing this number, Xiao Qingcheng's face showed even more shock. He remembered clearly that at the beginning of the month, the entire camp had just over 100 at the cold resistance level. In less than a month, the number had doubled, which was indeed exaggerated. Zhu Xing pays respects to Lord Xiao. While the two were amazed, their old acquaintance Zhu Xing approached, smiled, and greeted Xiao Qingcheng with a bow, then continued. In October, among the 260,000 people merged from Longyu, there were many at the earth-digging realm limit who were already on the brink of breaking through. With the help of high-level beast blood spirit pills, and support from the Martial Arts Academy, it's not surprising they've concentrated their breakthroughs. Upon hearing this explanation, Xiao Qingcheng finally understood. Indeed, if it were only those at the earth-digging realm limit in Great Xia itself, there shouldn't be this many breakthroughs, but including the group from Longyu in October made it more reasonable. Xiao Qingcheng, having received the summon during the day and just arrived from Xia City to the beehive, was not informed about the advanced cold beasts within Yanglu realm. Thinking that Zhu Xing was the captain of the Cloud Dragon Army's reconnaissance camp, he inquired proactively. "Brother Zhu, I heard in Xia City that around Yangyuan Peak there are several hundred advanced cold beasts. Is the Lord gathering us here for this matter?" Although he was bestowed with the title of 9th-rank Marquis, Zhu Xing, being at the same cold resistance level and an old acquaintance from 5-8 Mountain, did not put on airs. Upon hearing his question, Zhu Xing's expression became serious as he nodded and said, "Indeed, around Yangyuan Peak, counting the two tribes of Snow Mane and Frost Wolf, there are a total of 12 cold beast groups, with nearly 300 advanced cold beasts. However, in the past 20 days, the Lord led us to solve 3 waves from the outskirts, leaving 7 cold beast groups, each with more than 20 heads. Of course, there's also the 2 tribes of Frost Wolf and Snow Mane, which the Cloud Dragon Army and the Dragon Martial Army alone cannot easily handle." At this time, Xiao Yuan asked, "Can't we use torches to attract them? We don't need to encircle and annihilate them. Just use a large number of torches to draw all these cold beasts away from Yangyuan Peak, right?" Zhu Yuan shook his head and said, "Torches don't have that strong an attraction to advanced cold beasts, at least not those advanced cold beasts, which clearly value the things that White Du Gu has created at Yangyuan Peak more. The Lord tried earlier, using torches to control distance to attract them, but it wasn't effective. The 3 waves we solved in the past 20 days were drawn out by the Lord personally risking himself." Although Xiao Qingcheng had broken through to cold resistance level, he hadn't attempted hunting advanced cold beasts and thought it would be the same as hunting mid- and low-level cold beasts, using small fire torches to lure them away. He only understood after Zhu Xing's explanation. "So, the Lord plans to forcefully drive away the cold beasts near Yangyuan Peak with us, the 200 at cold resistance level, plus the Dragon Martial Army and Cloud Dragon Army. Is there confidence in this?" After asking, Xiao Qingcheng exchanged glances with Xiao Yuan, both showing some apprehension, clearly feeling uncertain. Without thinking too deeply, not to mention the 2 large tribes of Snow Mane and Frost Wolf, even just the over 200 advanced cold beasts alone already vastly exceeded their side in strength. Cold resistance level wanting to hunt advanced cold beasts requires either strong individuals capable of handling them alone or at least 3 people working together. This in itself proves that in one-on-one situations, most advanced cold beasts are far stronger than human cold resistance level. Moreover, among the more than 200 at cold resistance level gathered here today, more than half had just broken through, with most having a basic strength below 2 manes. Even considering the Cloud Dragon Army and Dragon Martial Army, successfully driving away so many cold beasts near Yangyuan Peak might not be so simple. Zhu Xing clearly understood this as well, so he didn't directly answer but rather furrowed his brows slightly before speaking in a deep voice. Since the Lord has gathered us here, there must be a plan. I heard that for the past 20 days, the craftsman workshop has been rushing to make divine arm bows. If we all get equipped, there might be hope. This, what Brother Zhu said, makes sense too. Xiao Qingcheng's expression slightly tensed, finally nodding in agreement. He had already heard about the 200 divine arm bows in Xia City. The question is, can these bows be enough to bridge the strength gap between the two sides? Chapter 831, Chapter 325, Mobilizing the Beehive. Where is the divine arm bow? Full deployment. Xiao Qingcheng slightly shook his head, seeing the people around still enthusiastically discussing the matters of Yangyuan Peak. He refrained from questioning Zhu Xing further. Clearly, this was not the time for doubt. This group that had just ascended to the cold resistance level was brimming with confidence. If he voiced his concerns, it might disrupt their morale. Step. Suddenly, there was a faint sound of footsteps from the living quarters at the back of the main hall. Xiao Qingcheng immediately stood up straight, facing the front of the main hall. Among the over 200 people in the hall, all having cold resistance cultivation, if Xiao Qingcheng could hear the footsteps from the back quarters, so could everyone else. Thus, it was not just him. Everyone who was chatting instantly fell silent, stood at their respective positions, facing the front of the main hall, with solemn expressions and upright postures. The previously lively hall fell silent at once. Step, step, step. As the sounds in the hall ceased, the footsteps from the back quarters became exceptionally clear. Soon from the side wing at the back of the hall, Xia Hong, clad in black, came out with a smile. He first surveyed the people, then proceeded to the main seat to sit down. Seeing him take his seat, Xia Chuan, Yu Wendao, and others in the front led the more than 200 people in the hall to bow to him in unison. Greetings, Lord. No need for formalities, please rise. After indicating for everyone to rise, Xia Hong directly addressed Xia Chuan, asking, "Are all the cold resistance level individuals from the camp here?" Xia Chuan stepped forward half a step, cupped his hands and said, "Reporting to the Lord, as of nightfall, there are a total of 214 cold resistance level individuals in the camp. Except for Xiao Ning and Xiao Yu, who are pregnant and unable to come, the remaining 212 have been accounted for." Upon hearing this, Xia Hong was slightly stunned, remembering that Xiao Ning and Xiao Yu were both heavily pregnant. If he recalled correctly, Xiao Ning was due to give birth next month. Xia Hong originally wanted to inquire about Xiao Ning's situation, but thinking it was clearly not the right time, he stopped himself. Then, turning his thoughts elsewhere, he glanced at Li Xuanling sitting to his left and then smilingly addressed the crowd. With 214 cold resistance level individuals, our great Xia truly has an abundance of talent. You probably all know the reason I've gathered you here today, so I won't waste words. I'll directly tell you your mission. After pausing, Xia Hong raised his hand to point to the map behind the main seat, continuing, "In the past 3 months, I've led the Cloud Dragon Army and Dragon Martial Army to eliminate almost all the cold beasts within the Yanglu realm. Now, the area covered by dense fog only surrounds a 5-kilometer radius around Yangyuan Peak. This 5-kilometer area is currently occupied by 1 Frost Wolf clan and 1 Snow Mane clan, each numbering over 500. Besides these clans, there are 7 small groups formed by advanced cold beasts, each numbering over 20. The Cloud Dragon Army and Dragon Martial Army can't eliminate them, so I have to call upon you." Using a charcoal pencil, Xia Hong marked Yangyuan Peak on the map, then clearly indicated the specific locations of the Frost Wolf and Snow Mane clans, as well as the positions of the 7 cold beast groups. I've numbered these 9 locations based on their strength. Number 1 is the Snow Mane clan, number 2 the Frost Wolf clan, while numbers 3 through 9 represent the 7 small groups of advanced cold beasts. Tonight, I will attempt to place bait 5 kilometers north of Yangyuan Peak. If successful, luring those cold beast groups one by one will result in a smooth operation tonight. You'll just follow me to eliminate the cold beasts, facing little danger. However, if an accident occurs and all those cold beasts are drawn at once by my bait, then the situation won't be favorable. Your task is to split up all the advanced cold beasts into different areas to prevent them from gathering, as their combined destructive power is too great. The Cloud Dragon Army and Dragon Martial Army aren't as effective against the advanced cold beasts, and I still need them to deal with the Frost Wolf and Snow Mane clans. Therefore, the main force at the start tonight consists of you 200 cold resistance individuals. You are 212 in total, led by Li Xuanling, Li Tiancheng, Hu Jing, Xia Chuan, Yuan Dao, Chen Yingyuan, and Peng Bo. Divide into 7 teams with equal numbers. If I'm able to lure those cold beasts out in batches, the 7 teams will follow me in hunting them. If an accident happens with all the beasts charging at once, you'll do as I've just said, with each captain leading their team to draw the beasts into different areas. The strength of these advanced cold beasts is formidable. I don't expect you to successfully hunt them. Just draw them away, and with my assistance, we should be able to kill them without much trouble. Your role is to draw them away and then wait for my support. Understood? Bait placed 5 kilometers away can lure the cold beasts around Yangyuan Peak. Most were skeptical, yet a few, like Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao, seemed to have guessed Xia Hong's bait. Understood. Despite their doubts, their inherent trust in Xia Hong led them to give the most resolute answer. All right, divide into groups now. Remember, the goal is to lure them, not to hunt the advanced cold beasts, so distribute your team's strength evenly. Chapter 832, Chapter 325, Mobilizing the Beehive, Where is the Divine Arm Bow? Full Deployment, Part 3. Xia Hong finished speaking and sat back in his chair, quietly waiting for everyone to form groups. No need to hunt, just lure the cold beasts away. This meant that everyone didn't have to risk themselves too much. By evenly distributing the group's strength into 7 teams, it would be more conducive to preserving their lives. Xia Chuan and the others naturally understood this point, so the grouping was done according to the rules. Those with mid-stage and late-stage cold resistance cultivation were evenly distributed, while those who had just broken through cold resistance level were spread across all the small teams. In less than 10 minutes, 7 cold resistance level teams led by Li Xuanling were successfully formed. All right, Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao, head down now to organize the army for departure. The rest follow me, and once everyone is in position, we'll begin. At your command. Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao nodded in agreement and immediately turned to leave the hall, heading to the main gate to organize the army's departure. Xia Hong also got up, leading everyone through the passage from the top of the main building. What about the divine arm bows? Didn't we just make a batch of them? In the crowd, Xiao Kengcheng furrowed his brow, turning to meet Xiao Yuan's gaze, his face filled with confusion and puzzlement. Wasn't Mu Dong supposed to have rushed to make 200 divine arm bows? With the confrontation against advanced cold beasts looming, why hadn't Xia Hong distributed those 200 divine arm bows to the cold resistance levels? Weren't we told there was a batch of divine arm bows? There definitely is. Over a month ago, I personally saw the artifact refining workshop take a lot of high-level Tang Jiao tendons and a massive amount of iron ore from the camp's supply department. They must have crafted a batch of divine arm bows. I also heard they made over 200 divine arm bows. Are they not going to be distributed to us? Could it be that they're already sent over? Not sure, let's just follow the Lord over and see. The news about the divine arm bows wasn't something only Xiao Kengcheng knew. Many cold resistance levels had heard about them. Seeing Xia Hong not mentioning it until now, everyone looked slightly puzzled. All right, stop grumbling and let's go. Xia Hong urged everyone from the front, and they promptly stopped their discussions, following him down the passage toward the ground. 5 kilometers north of Yangyuan Peak, there was a high-raised snow hill. The highest point of the snow hill was about 20 meters above ground, which was considered quite high for Longyu, where the landscape was all snowfields. All right, it should take the main force another half an hour to get here. I'll go check around Yangyuan Peak first. You all just wait here. Xia Hong, leading a group of cold resistance levels, took only a few minutes to get from the beehive to here. Upon reaching the snow hill, he signaled for everyone to stay put while he dashed across the snowfield toward the dense fog area on the south side of Yangyuan Peak, clearly planning to scout ahead. The 3 direct roads of the beehive connected to Mirror Valley, Hankyang, and Wushuang. To get to the snow hill, the main force could only march across the snowfield, greatly slowing their speed. Everyone could only wait here at the snow hill. Half an hour later, the marching army finally appeared on the east side of the snow hill. "They're here, the army has arrived." With the first person spotting the marching army, everyone immediately turned to look. As soon as they looked, someone noticed something unusual. "Oh, what's that large vehicle being towed in the middle of the army?" It turned out that in the middle of the army, a 10-meter-long giant iron wheel car was being escorted, with some soldiers at the front clearing the snowy path, clearly making way for the iron wheel car. It looks like a transport vehicle for transporting iron ore and coal stone. It's covered with a black tarp. Could it be those divine arm bows? Definitely. I told you, after Mu Dong made those divine arm bows, there was no way they wouldn't be distributed to us. Turns out they had the army bring them over. They? Everyone nodded, thinking that the vehicle was indeed transporting the divine arm bows. Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao, who had arrived at the snow hill before the main army, heard the speculations and displayed a slightly odd expression but said nothing, just standing among the people and waiting for Xia Hong. Xia Hong quickly returned. Seeing most of the soldiers had made it to the back of the snow hill, he slowly walked up to the high point of the snow hill and lightly waved his hand in front of him. A dazzling light suddenly appeared before Xia Hong. Buzz! Everyone just blinked, and a 7-meter-long pale golden square giant tripod appeared in front of Xia Hong, standing tall at the very top of the snow hill. Isn't that the holy tripod? Wasn't the holy tripod in Xia City? Can the Lord summon the holy tripod from Xia City out of thin air? This, a divine artifact. I always said the holy tripod was a divine artifact, and truly it is. Xia Hong's ability to summon objects out of thin air wasn't something the original people of Great Xia were unfamiliar with. But for those cold resistance levels who had recently come from Longyu, it was their first time witnessing such a scene. From October until now, they had already experienced many miraculous things in Xia City, such as Black Soil Walls, Martial Arts Academy, Artifact Refining Workshop, Alchemy Workshop, Cold Beast Steaks, and so on. The Holy Tripod, capable of significantly increasing the surrounding temperature and preventing deceitful monster attacks, was already seen by them as possessing a divine aura. Seeing Xia Hong perform what seemed like a miracle by summoning the holy tripod from Xia City filled their hearts with astonishment and amazement. They exclaimed in surprise, their gaze gradually shifting from the holy tripod to Xia Hong in front of them, with a noticeable increase of fervor in their eyes. "Everything is ready. I'm going to light the fire and start luring the cold beasts." Xia Hong reminded everyone with a sentence, took a deep breath, then turned his head to look toward the south side of Yangyuan Peak with a slightly solemn expression. He had calculated this for several days. The distance to the outermost cold beast group from this position was exactly 5 kilometers, meaning that once the cold ruins tripod was ignited, its radiation range could encompass that cold beast group. Logically, only that small range of cold beast groups would be attracted by the cold ruins tripod. But the exact outcome was uncertain for Xia Hong, as he had only previously used small torches to attract cold beasts. This was his first time using the cold ruins tripod. According to Xia Chuan, during the beehive siege last time, the cold ruins tripod's lure on ground cold beasts was extremely strong, and this time should be no exception. But I don't know exactly how strong it will be, whether it will only attract those within its radiation range or bring over all cold beasts from that side. Xia Hong's gaze narrowed slightly, seeing the prepared cold resistance levels and the soldiers from the 2 armies below the snow hill. He felt a slight shift in his emotions. Crackle, crackle, crackle. As his system's resource points decreased, the cold ruins tripod first emitted a few slight noises, and then a thin flame rose up. Then, boom! Flames suddenly soared from within the tripod. The surrounding temperature instantly rose, followed by a strong warmth that radiated outward centered on the tripod. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Almost as the warmth enveloped everyone, the ground began to rumble. The cold resistance levels on the snow hill, the Cloud Dragon Army and Dragon Martial Army behind it, including Xia Hong standing beside the cold ruins tripod, all instantly turned to look south toward Yangyuan Peak, their expressions uniformly changing. "They're moving, all of them are moving. This noise, it's definitely more than one batch. All advanced cold beasts are coming." Draw bows, prepare for battle, hurry, everyone get ready. Xia Hong's urgent loud shout immediately caused everyone's expressions to become serious, and they all drew their respective weapons, looking tensely toward the south. The 2,000 soldiers behind the snow hill quickly drew their bows and nocked arrows, watching the people on the snow hill above with utmost seriousness. The cold resistance levels were the first line of defense against the cold beasts. If the advanced cold beasts broke through the snow hill, only then would they have the opportunity to shoot back. Chapter 833. Chapter 326. Divide and Annihilate, Shattering Divine Light, Trump card activated. Bam! A frost wolf less than 2 meters in length suddenly charged out from the thick fog area of the southern snowfield. It fixated on the cold ruins tripod burning atop the snow hill, and its originally jade-green vertical pupils gradually filled with blood red due to greed and desire. Ow! The frost wolf had already spotted the group from the Great Xia on the snow hill with their cold resistance level. It could clearly sense the significant threat these people posed to it. Initially, a trace of dread flashed in its eyes, but soon greed overwhelmed it. After a roar of anger, its body suddenly swelled up, instantaneously transforming into a gigantic entity over 20 meters long. Roars, roars, roar. And this frost wolf was only the beginning. Longtongue snow mane, golden-eyed demon sheep, frost electric ape, fire stone tiger, blue moon elf, golden armored thunder kiwi, cloud mist tang jiao, striped tiger, long-tailed rodent, white bear. More than 100 in total, with nearly 20 different forms of cold beasts, burst out from the thick fog area in large numbers, clawing and fanging as they charged out. Like the frost wolf, they fixated on the cold ruins tripod atop the snow hill, their eyes filled with greed and desire. They clearly felt the threat from the group on Snow Hill, yet they did not hesitate to shift into battle mode and accelerated towards the snow hill. One should know in terms of size, the frost wolf counts as small among the cold beasts, yet even so, once in battle mode, an advanced frost wolf typically exceeds 20 meters in length. If that's the frost wolf, needless to say the others follow suit. More than 100 advanced cold beasts all transformed into battle form, charging straight towards Snow Hill. Describing the scene as covering the sky and blocking the sun would not be an exaggeration. And there were more than just 100. The advanced cold beasts in the thick fog area almost never stopped. They should all be out now, except for the frost wolves and snow manes. Those two tribes didn't move. The cold ruins tripod's attraction to these beasts is immense indeed. On the snow hill, Xia Hong's gaze was like a torch as he watched the cold beasts approaching, turning to shout to his companions, "Proceed as per the original plan, don't aim to kill, just divert them separately. Lord, these cold beasts are too insane. Let's extinguish the cold ruins tripod first." A suggestion was put forth, but it didn't gain Xia Hong's approval. No need to worry, they won't make it up Snow Hill. The first frost wolf had already climbed onto the sloped edge of Snow Hill, so by the time Xia Hong finished speaking, he had drawn the cold blood blade and charged forward. Pajai. Xia Hong moved like a phantom, and in an instant stood directly in front of the frost wolf, thrusting the cold blood blade into its lower jaw. Advanced cold beasts are naturally not so easily slain. The frost wolf visibly sensed the cold blood blade siphoning its blood, a flash of fear crossing its pupils. It immediately turned to pull away and dodge the blade. However, how could Xia Hong let it escape? With a close body tackle, he rushed forward, his body like a cannonball crashing into the frost wolf's chest. The frost wolf, over 20 meters long, was knocked backward by Xia Hong like a kite with a broken string, tumbling tens of meters backward. Bam! Numerous cold beasts were rushing towards the snow hill, so when the frost wolf's body was knocked back, it crashed into a large line of charging cold beasts, temporarily halting their advance. The 200-plus cold resistance level onlookers on the snow hill were instantly dumbfounded. Gulp, just how many manes is the Lord's basic strength? This one hit at least toppled over a dozen cold beasts. No wonder they said these advanced cold beasts couldn't make it up. The Lord is too powerful. Is the Lord really the same cold resistance level cultivation as us? Pressing his advantage, Xia Hong stepped on the frost wolf's forehead before it could regain its footing, reversed his grip on the cold blood blade, and drove it straight through the left eye into its brain. Hiss! The bloodthirsty property of the cold blood blade was triggered. Unlike before, the frost wolf's head suffered severe damage, so its struggle lasted less than 2 or 3 breaths. 7 teams, each fend for yourselves, divert these cold beasts separately. Just ensure I'm not surrounded. For the rest, feel free to act. Extracting the cold blood blade, Xia Hong continued charging at the nearest Tang Jiao, noticing with his peripheral vision that many cold beasts had bypassed him and were heading towards the top of the snow hill. He immediately shouted to the others to start acting. Li Xuanling, Xia Chuan, and the 7 squads promptly responded and moved. Cold resistance level is not equal to earth-digging realm limit, with their basic strength being at least 1 main or more, making it hard to equip them with a strong bow of matching force. Hence, among the 200-plus cold resistance level present, only some who joined recently from Longyu had bows, while most only had a piece of 1,000 forged weapons. Fortunately, during the grouping, Xia Chuan had been considerate, so the archer individuals were evenly distributed among the 7 squads, about 5 archers per squad on average. Hu Ming, you guys shoot, the rest come with me to intercept on the left. In Yuan Dao's squad, Hu Ming and 4 others were equipped with bows. After deciding to intercept from the left, Yuan Dao signaled Hu Ming to have his group suppressed with arrows, while he led over 20 others with weapons drawn into close combat with the cold beasts. The other 6 teams modeled this tactic, quickly spreading out below Snow Hill to establish a defensive line, breaking up the cold beasts. Bam! Hold back these few cold beasts, don't let them get close to the Lord. Chapter 834, Chapter 326, Divide and Annihilate, Shattering Divine Light, Trump Card Activated. Part 2. Xia Chuan controlled the sword puppet, slashing open a demon sheep beside him, then sternly commanded the crowd, signaling them to divert several cold beasts charging at Xia Hong. Rumbles rumble. The snow hill was merely about a mile in circumference, with the highest point only 20 meters. When over 100 advanced cold beasts charged over, it took just a moment to flatten the snow hill completely. Moreover, with those of Great Xia's cold resistance level dispersed evenly into 7 squads engaging in battle with them, the violent power from both sides continued to pour onto the ground through weapons and limbs, causing the originally flattened snow hill to begin sinking slowly, gradually forming a depression. This spot was a wasted choice. The power is too great, the terrain's changed. Xia Hong dodged a golden light shot from the surface of a demon sheep, plunged the cold blood blade violently into its back, and turned to see the snow hill already sunken by 3 or 4 meters. A grave look flashed in his eyes. The snow hill he had carefully chosen evidently wasn't going to serve much purpose. Lord, no way. There are too many cold beasts, there are more coming. It seems all the cold beasts around Yangyuan Peak are here. We should extinguish the cold ruins tripod, or we can't hold them off. Peng Bo's loud shout from the flank attracted Xia Hong's attention. He turned to look at the dense fog area to the south and indeed saw cold beasts continuously emerging from it. He took a deep breath, spoke in a low voice. Don't panic, they can't reach the cold ruins tripod. After saying this, he immediately drew the cold blood blade, slashing open the striped tiger rushing at him from the flank. Roar! The striped tiger, having waited a long time for this moment, was immediately sliced open by Xia Hong, used its tail to balance its form, roared angrily, turned and leaped high, once again pouncing at Xia Hong. Moreover, the black spots on its body instantly began to pulse, the muscles knotted inside swelled significantly, and the entire tiger's body expanded by 3 or 4 tenths. Trying to compete with me in strength, you must be mad. Striped tigers are a unique species of Long Mountain. Xia Hong, having spent ample time in Longyu, was naturally familiar with them. The layer of black spots on the striped tiger could boost its power by 50%, generally only used in times of desperation. This striped tiger's newfound impact strength was roughly equivalent to 18 bristles, and after activating its black spots, its strength could increase to about 27 bristles, which would spell certain defeat for other cold resistance levels. But it encountered me. It's useless, even joining forces won't help. Xia Hong glanced sidelong and quickly noticed to his left another Thunder Kui charging at him with its horn on its forehead flickering with electricity, clearly having stored power for a long time nearby, planning to coordinate with the striped tiger to attack him. Bang! Xia Hong suddenly stomped the ground, flash-like, drawing the dragon sparrow saber from his waist with his left hand, first intercepting the horn of the Thunder Kui to his left. The Thunder Kui's nearly 30-meter-long body was just held down by Xia Hong with one hand, and the arcs of electricity flickering from the horn on its forehead suddenly exploded, splattering starry particles all across the sky. Roar! The Thunder QE maintained its forward charging position, roaring as it increased its force, but no matter how hard it tried, it couldn't move the dragon sparrow saber an inch. Meanwhile, the striped tiger's blood basin mouth arrived. Bang! Xia Hong didn't even look at the striped tiger directly, just raised a leg and kicked it viciously against its jaw, then raised the cold blood blade high with his right hand, stabbing directly into the back of the golden armored Thunder QE to his left. Spurt! Roar's roar! The golden armored Thunder QE had planned to dodge initially, but it had been in a perpetual forward dive position all along, and to wrestle with the dragon sparrow saber, it had exerted nearly all its strength. Attempting to suddenly rein in its power to evade was naturally not fast enough. As the cold blood blade plunged into its nape, the Thunder QE's blood instantly started to boil. It could distinctly sense the abnormality in its body, with horror and shock filling its pupils, wildly shaking its head trying to rid itself of the cold blood blade. But Xia Hong certainly wasn't going to give it the opportunity. He gripped the cold blood blade tightly, and under the mighty force, the Thunder QE's head shaking barely spanned even half a meter, being forcibly drained of its blood by the cold blood blade until its pupils completely lost color and it collapsed heavily. Bang! The ninth one, no, still a bit slow, need to speed it up. Xia Hong frowned deeply, turning to see the number of cold beasts around him still increasing, a glint of light flashing in his left eye as he once again charged at the striped tiger he had just kicked away. The striped tiger, after being kicked away, clearly realized it couldn't possibly defeat the person before it, so, in a straightforwardly honest manner, it turned to flee toward the top of the snow hill. However, it hadn't even run a few steps. Swoosh! A fierce white light suddenly shot from Xia Hong's left eye, striking directly upon the back of the striped tiger. Crack! The striped tiger, hit by the white light, stiffened violently, then stood uncontrollably still, with an intense heat emanating from its body surface. Its body began to slowly crack. Fear and horror filled the striped tiger's pupil. It frantically twisted its head trying to roar, but its throat felt mute, unable to make any sound. Not only could it not make a sound, it couldn't even move its body. Spurt! Xia Hong chased from behind, leapt high, and beheaded it from midair. Bang! The massive tiger's head thudded to the ground with a loud crash, and then it, together with its body, returned to normal size. Chapter 835. Chapter 326, Divide and Annihilate Shattering Divine Light, the trump card arrives. 3. Despite being restored to its normal size, the surface of the striped tiger remained in a cracked state. Many cold beasts around it turned their heads to look, and upon seeing the web-like patterns on the striped tiger's back, their gazes changed instantly. Lord, some cold beasts have reached the side of the holy tripod. Don't worry, they won't get through. Hearing the shout from Yuan Cheng at the rear, Xia Hong didn't even turn his head. A faint light flashed past his left eye as he directly charged toward the nearest Teng Jiao on the right side. How is it possible that they can't get through? Yuan Cheng was assigned to Peng Bo's team, and their group was closest to the holy tripod. So when he saw three cold beasts breaking through the defense line and rushing toward the holy tripod, he promptly alerted Xia Hong. But Xia Hong's response left him a bit dumbfounded. Out of the 7 squads with over 200 people, almost no one was idle. Everyone was doing their best to pin down the cold beasts, either luring or disrupting them, afraid they would reach the vicinity of the holy tripod. The 3 cold beasts, consisting of a rodent, frost wolf, and blue moon elf, were among the faster ones in the cold beast category, so it wasn't surprising that they could break through the defense line. Q Peng, you hold the line, I'll go over there. Seeing the 3 cold beasts were now less than 20 meters from the holy tripod, Yuan Cheng gritted his teeth and shouted to signal Qiu Peng from the same team to hold off the Teng Jiao in front of them, while he carried a giant axe and charged toward that direction. Bang! But just as he charged forward a dozen meters, a loud noise echoed from the area of the holy tripod. He looked up and was taken aback. Why are the cold beasts fighting each other? Behind the holy tripod at some point, 10 advanced Thunder QE had appeared. They charged out, knocking back the 3 approaching cold beasts, then stood steadily around the holy tripod, encircling it. Look at their eyes, those aren't cold beasts, they're Lord's cold beast stakes transformed. He brought the cold beast stakes from Xia City. Upon Qiu Peng's reminder, Yuan Cheng looked up at the 10 Thunder Kui and finally noticed their pupils weren't the usual jade green of normal advanced cold beasts, but a fiery red like burning coal stone. So that's it, no wonder the Lord was so confident. Yuan Cheng suddenly realized, seeing the 10 Thunder Kui guarding the holy tripod, relief finally appeared on his face. Advanced Thunder Kui transformed from cold beast stakes, and there are 10 of them. The holy tripod should be safe. No wonder the Lord is so fearless. At this moment, everyone else had also reacted, no longer paying attention to the situation at the holy tripod, instead focusing on the cold beasts in front of them. Xia Hong continued to move around the battlefield. Ever since he started using the shattering divine light of his left eye, his kill efficiency had increased almost exponentially. In just a short moment, he had killed 20 or 30 advanced cold beasts. Moreover, this speed was continuously increasing. The advanced cold beasts, willing or not, could only be divided by the cold resistance level warriors of Great Xia. Even if some slipped through, those swift and agile ones reaching the holy tripod had to face the 10 golden armored Thunder Kui transformed from the cold beast stakes. The entire battlefield instantly shifted into a one-sided pattern. Ow! Suddenly, a low wolf howl came from the rear. At Snow Hill, or more accurately, Snow Hollow, a group of cold resistance level warriors entangled with the cold beasts all turned to look behind them. Seeing this, their expressions instantly changed. Don't panic, it's 2 cold beast clans starting to move. Xia Chuan, Yuan Dao, you go to the rear to lead the army to face them. Everyone else continues. Yes, sir. Upon hearing the order, Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao handed over command and quickly dashed toward the Dragon Martial Army and Cloud Dragon Army at the rear. Coming so late, it seems they were waiting for the right moment, thinking that your trump card is hidden among these 2 cold beast clans. Xia Hong turned his head to look at the southern Yangyuan Peak, his eyes carrying a hint of amusement. Chapter 836, Chapter 327, Beast Tide Showdown, The Wolf King's Gambit and White Dugu's Last Stand. Boom, boom, boom. The thunderous roar came from the flanks of the depression. Xia Hong caught it from the corner of his eye, and his previously playful gaze suddenly became much more serious. In the snowfield on the western side of the depression, not a single cold beast could be seen, yet the earth continued to rumble, and countless mournful wolf howls echoed from beneath the ground. The previously calm surface mysteriously began to bulge. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Those bulges formed a meandering line, racing toward the 2,000-strong army in the depression with incredible speed. Cloud Dragon Army Horizontal Blade Camp, release arrows. The other 4 camps stay vigilant on the surroundings. Dragon Martial Army Long Spear Camp, release arrows. The other 4 camps stay vigilant on the surroundings. This wasn't their first encounter with cold beasts. It was no secret that frost wolves like to burrow beneath the snow to launch surprise attacks on humans. Without needing Xia Hong's reminder, both Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao had already begun to command the army's response. The 2 of them almost spoke simultaneously, ordering only the most numerous horizontal blade 6 camps and long spear 6 camps to release arrows, indicating for the remaining 4 camps to stay alert. Smart. Upon hearing their first command, Xia Hong immediately turned his focus back to dealing with the advanced cold beasts in front of him, no longer concerned with the army's position. Due to the low vegetation cover, the snow in Longyu was much thicker than at Redwood Ridge. However, even so, the snow depth in most areas was only between 3 to 5 meters. 3 to 5 meters of snow might be enough to conceal low-level frost wolves' forms, but not for the larger intermediate and advanced frost wolves. Thus, the initial assault from underground was just a decoy attack from the first wave of the Frost Wolf clan. Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao clearly realized this, hence only ordered 6 camps to release arrows, leaving 4 camps to guard the surroundings. Since their ability to command the army far exceeded Xia Hong's expectations, he could naturally focus more of his attention on dealing with the advanced cold beasts before him. His current target was 1 Teng Jiao and 2 Thunder Kui. Unlike before, these 3 advanced cold beasts not only were exceptionally powerful, but were also cooperating with extreme precision. The 2 Thunder Kui, with their formidable 20-some main strength, appeared to be the main attackers, but in reality, they were simply charging endlessly, using their massive size to limit his position. While the Teng Jiao was truly in charge of the main attack, It hadn't transformed into its combat form but maintained its over 2-meter form, maneuvering stealthily beneath the surrounding snow. From time to time, it suddenly bolted out from hiding, trailing a streak of blue, narrowly missing slashing his neck skin membrane several times. Bang! A thunder QE charged from behind, but Xia Hong didn't raise his blade to block it. Instead, he braced his feet on the ground, using sheer brute force to brace against it. The shockwave from the collision of their tremendous forces didn't cause any harm, but it did make his blood and energy churn turbulently. Feeling his power surge within, Xia Hong suddenly exerted himself, leaning back hard. Snap! He was the one on the receiving end just now, causing his blood and energy to roil continuously, but now he had transferred the force to the thunder QE behind him, instantly revealing the power gap between them. The horn on the thunder QE's forehead was bent upon impact, and its massive 30-meter-long body was driven back a good 50 to 60 meters, ultimately failing to stabilize, tumbling sideways to the ground. Roar! Naturally, Xia Hong hadn't toppled it for no reason, as the second thunder QE had already charged at him from the front, its arc-sparking horn aiming straight for his chest. With a furious roar, the thunder QE's horn was less than 2 meters from him. It was too close even to dodge, let alone raise his blade. Whoosh! Xia Hong himself hadn't planned to evade. Using his left eye, the shattering divine light burst out suddenly, hitting the thunder QE's horn directly. The horn on the thunder QE's forehead suddenly emitted intense high heat, and then fractures began spreading from the point hit by the shattering divine light, like a spider web gradually weaving across its forehead. Roar! The excruciating pain drove the thunder QE to roar incessantly. Although its charging body didn't halt, by the time it impacted Xia Hong's chest, most of its strength had been spent. Snap! Xia Hong merely extended his left hand with a powerful slap, snapping the thunder QE's horn clean off. Then, raising the cold blood blade high with his right hand, he thrust it ferociously toward the thunder QE's left eye. Yet at that crucial moment, Xia Hong twisted his wrist, reversing his grip on the cold blood blade, pointing the blade tip downward, astonishingly plunging it into the snow beneath his feet. Plop! Hiss! A sharp hissing sound came from beneath the snow. Xia Hong, exerting force with his right hand, pulled a jade-green little snake diagonally from underneath. You've reached my feet and still no action, so I'll start instead. This advanced Tengjiao, stealthily attempting to approach through the snow, stood no chance of escaping his eye of truth. Xia Hong deliberately hadn't evaded the thunder QE's assault, pretending not to notice to allow it that close. The Tengjiao, pierced by the cold blood blade, only struggled for 3 to 4 moments before its eyes lost all their spirit, its life abruptly ending. Casually discarding the Tengjiao's corpse, gripping the cold blood blade, Xia Hong shot toward the thunder QE whose horn had been hit with the shattering divine light. Plop! The thunder QE in the rear had just steadied itself in the snow, raising its head just in time to see Xia Hong's cold blood blade plunging into its comrade's skull. Its gaze flickered with terror, eyes gradually becoming uncertain. Clearly, it had started reconsidering its intentions. The allure of the cold ruins tripod was strong, but the deadly threat Xia Hong posed right now was undoubtedly much more severe. Chapter 837, Chapter 327, Beast Tide Showdown, The Wolf King's Gambit and White Dugu's Last Stand. Roar! The thunder QE first let out an angry roar, looking like it was about to charge at Xia Hong, but in the next second it turned and fled southward. Xia Hong was momentarily stunned by this amusing scene, but soon noticed that the dozen or so other cold beasts were also starting to retreat. It's calling its companions to retreat as well. These advanced cold beasts indeed have considerable intelligence. They actually know how to advance and retreat together. However, those terrified of being killed were ultimately just a small fraction. Since the start of the beast tide, Xia Hong had personally slain over 20 advanced cold beasts. This number would be significant during normal hunting, but it was clearly nothing in the current situation. There were nearly 200 advanced cold beasts that had just surged from the thick fog area in the south, and he had killed at most only a tenth of them. Of course, others also had some minor accomplishments. Xia Hong glanced across the battlefield, noticing that Li Xuanling, Li Tiancheng, and Hu Jing's squads had also managed to bring down 3 to 5 advanced cold beasts nearby. It's good that they know fear. As long as the army holds, we can eventually kill them all. The army wasn't just holding, it even showed signs of counterattacking the beast tide. Although Xia Hong was focused on dealing with the advanced cold beasts here, he intermittently kept an eye on the rear of the basin and was well aware of the army's circumstances. The first wave of feints from the Frost Wolf clan at the left side didn't even manage to break through the snow to reach the ground. They were all shot dead by the arrow formation. Then, the second wave consisting of intermediate and advanced Frost Wolves came from the right side. The 4 squads reserved by Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao not only perfectly held them at bay with the arrow formation, but persisted until the 6 forward squads finished off the first wave of feints and turned to assist them. Xia Hong noticed that Peng Bo's squad encountered a situation, so he immediately drew his blade and rushed over, still keeping aware of the army's status. At this moment, the army was facing not just the Frost Wolf clan. In the rear of the basin, hundreds of snowmen were also galloping from the snowy plains. But they clearly didn't grasp the timing well. Over 100 intermediate and advanced Frost Wolves hadn't yet penetrated the army's defenses, continuously suppressed by the arrow formation hundreds of meters away. When the Snowmane clan charged from the rear, it merely forced the army to allocate part of its forces to respond to them, somewhat relieving the pressure on the right side Frost Wolves. Cloud Jiao Army, heed my command. Reconnaissance Camp and Mo Blade Camp turn to suppress the rear. Longwu Army, heed my command. Reconnaissance Camp and Horizontal Blade Camp turn to suppress the Snowmane. As expected, Xia Hong had just reached Peng Bo when he heard Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao commanding the army. The appearance of the Snowmane clan is futile. This is the result of previous training. This mere 3-digit beast tide, not to mention defeat, lacks any chance of breaking the formation of the Cloud Jiao Army and Longwu Army. Bang! Peng Bo was being tightly coiled midair by a giant Teng Jiao over 100 meters long. The other squad members were busy with other cold beasts, leaving no one available to help. He frantically twisted his body, barely escaping from Teng Jiao's abdomen, but before landing, he was struck again by its massive tail. This Teng Jiao's strength was clearly far superior to his. As the giant tail struck, in desperation he raised his ghost head great saber to block, but still was knocked away with his blade and thrown dozens of meters. A mouthful of reversed blood spewed out as Peng Bo felt several rays of golden light speeding toward him before he hit the ground. His face turned grave as he looked down and saw the body of a golden-eyed demon sheep, a sense of panic instantly appearing in his eyes. Whoosh and whoosh. With the golden lights rushing in, realizing there was no way to evade, Peng Bo instinctively protected his head and chest, preparing to take the hit. Clang, clang, clang. But a large hand suddenly caught him from behind. Then a flash of blades passed before his eyes, intercepting all those dizzyingly rapid beams of golden light accurately with a blood-colored narrow blade. Thank you, Lord. Peng Bo naturally recognized the cold blood blade and immediately breathed a massive sigh of relief. Don't be careless. These advanced cold beasts cooperate with each other. Upon hearing Xia Hong's warning, Peng Bo first looked at the Teng Jiao that had just enwrapped him, then at the demon sheep that shot the golden lights at him, and quickly nodded, saying solemnly, "Indeed so. However, they seem to cooperate in small groups. It seems these cold beasts, like us humans, also have their small circles." Xia Hong's face immediately showed approval upon hearing this. Clearly, both himself and people like Peng Bo have been observing all along. Although the cold beasts appeared chaotic, careful observation reveals each squad was dealing with about 20 beasts. This proves that these advanced cold beasts, which erupted from the thick fog area, although appearing chaotic, are actually battling the cold resistance level forces of Great Xia in small groups. These advanced cold beasts could transcend clan concepts, forming small groups regardless of species, similar to human socialization. This high degree of organization unquestionably indicates their intelligence far surpasses what humans imagine. If these advanced cold beasts advance further, they could almost form a cold beast kingdom. No, Redwood Ridge and Long Mountain are but the tip of the iceberg in this world, and the number of advanced cold beasts in them is not much. Whether there are others elsewhere is truly uncertain. Cold Beast Kingdom. These 4 words appeared in Xia Hong's mind, and his expression immediately grew exceedingly grave. Chapter 838, Chapter 327, Beast Tide Showdown, The Wolf King's Gambit and White Du Gu's Last Stand. Whoosh! A sudden whirling wind abruptly interrupted Xia Hong's train of thought. The fierce wind was blowing from behind the hollow, and before Xia Hong could turn his head, he heard exclamations coming from the army stationed behind the hollow. Something's wrong. Why is the wind suddenly so strong? We can't hold on. The iron arrows are blown off course. This wind specifically targets the army. No, there's cold in this wind. My bow is forming icicles. My iron armor is also forming icicles. On the right side of the army, behind the group of advanced frost wolves, a sudden fierce white wind began to whirl. Normal air is colorless, but the white seen by everyone clearly indicated that the whirlwind contained extreme cold. Everyone, retreat with me to the direction of the army, and don't panic. Xia Hong's shout made all present with cold resistance level faces tense. Without asking why, they abandoned the cold beasts they were entangled with and turned to sprint towards the army behind the hollow. What about these advanced cold beasts? Their target is the cold ruins tripod, not the army. Where did this cold wind come from? Something strange. Retreat with the Lord first. Unlike others, Xia Hong's left eye was flickering with a faint light, and his gaze was fixed intently on the midair right behind that group of frost wolves, his expression extremely grave. Is that a beast king? Others couldn't see clearly, but he had the eye of truth. Behind those hundreds of advanced frost wolves, about 50 meters above the ground, clearly floated a miniature frost wolf, a bit over a meter long. The frost wolf was covered in a layer of sleek silver-white fur, with spikes around its neck shining with a bright silver glow. Unlike the jade-green pupils of ordinary advanced cold beasts, its pupils were like human eyes, distinctly black and white. Its blood-red mouth was opened wide, spewing out white frost. The white frost was, unexpectedly, the source of the cold wind. Whoosh and whoosh. The fierce wind ravaged for over 10 breaths. Just as the cold resistance level group retreated to the army's position, soldiers in the front rows began to tumble backward, flying out. With the cold ruins tripod increasing temperature, the cold within the wind was not to be feared, at most causing the soldiers, war armor and weapons to form slight icicles. The problem was the strength of the airflow, at least half to a whole main strong, and the cultivation limit of the army's earth-digging realm soldiers couldn't withstand it. Abandon bows, ready for close combat. Abandon bows, ready for close combat. Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao shouted simultaneously. At this moment, soldiers couldn't hold the bows steady in their hands. Even if the rear managed to shoot arrows, the raging airflow caused the iron arrows to lose accuracy completely, with some iron arrows even being blown back to injure their own men. So abandoning bows to engage in close combat with cold beasts was the only choice. Upon hearing their respective commanders' orders, soldiers from both armies uniformly dropped their strong bows, drew their weapons, and like before, soldiers from 6 camps focused on the Snow Main group behind, while the reconnaissance camp and 3 other camps continued to watch over the more than 100 advanced frost wolves on the right side. Xuanling, you take all the cold resistance level to station near the iron wheel car. Don't go out. Quickly eliminate any cold beasts rushing into the army formation. Understood. After months of interaction, Li Xuanling was no longer as rebellious as before. Realizing the urgency, she swiftly responded to Xia Hong and led over 200 cold resistance level soldiers near the iron wheel car. What's loaded on the iron wheel car is his last resort. By now, Li Xuanling had seen some signs. Although the iron wheel car was still covered by black beast tent cloth, obscuring the contents, she could assert it was Xia Hong's backup plan for today. Otherwise, at this cusp, why would Xia Hong have her guarding here with over 200 cold resistance level soldiers? Lord, those advanced cold beasts are quickly approaching the vicinity of the cold ruins tripod, and the 10 Thunder QE can't hold them off. Chen Yingyuan, still having leisure time to glance back at the hollow, saw a dozen advanced cold beasts already bypassing the golden armored Thunder QE transformed from the cold beast stakes, about to reach near the cold ruins tripod, immediately shouted to alert Xia Hong. No need, wait a bit, continue to hold off here. Xia Hong turned to look at the cold ruins tripod, a flash of astonishment crossing his eyes. Yet, staring at the distant frost wolf king hovering in midair, he gritted his teeth and gestured for everyone to continue guarding the center of the army. The cold ruins tripod might be a system item indeed, yet without contact, he couldn't retrieve it, and though it wasn't incredibly heavy, should these advanced cold beasts get close, there was a significant chance they'd steal it. This was the greatest divine artifact for his survival in the ice abyss. Others might be anxious, but none could compare to Xia Hong, the owner of the Cold Ruins tripod. Roar! A rapid, long-tailed rodent unexpectedly broke through the surface, poking its head in front of the Cold Ruins tripod. Looking at the close-range Cold Ruins tripod, those jade-green pupils of the rodent gleamed with greed, reaching its claws out to grasp the Cold Ruins tripod, dragging it toward itself. It's over. The holy tripod has been stolen. Lord! They, Xia Chuan, Yuan Cheng, and other old soldiers from Great Xia, witnessing the rodent's actions, nearly couldn't contain themselves from rushing toward the hollow side. The holy tripod had accompanied Great Xia's rise until now, and its significance was no less than to Xia Hong. But with Xia Hong's orders, they held back. Whoosh! Seeing the holy tripod about to get dragged underground by the rodent, unexpectedly, the wind blowing towards the army suddenly stopped. Chapter 839. Chapter 327. The Beast-Tide Battle, the Wolf King and the Trump Card, White Du Gu's Desperate Situation, 4. Unveil the tarp, prepare the Divine Machine crossbow. Xia Hong's shout was almost synchronized with the cessation of the fierce wind. Over 200 cold resistance-level warriors, gathered around the iron wheel car, responded first. Together with the nearby soldiers, they lifted the black beast tent cloth covering the iron wheel car. What was revealed on the iron wheel car was a giant crossbow arrow. The crossbow arrow was directly mounted on the iron wheel car, consisting of 3 bow bodies. The bow bodies were densely covered with silver patterns, difficult to count at a glance. Any skilled craftsman could instantly recognize that these were all made from 10,000 forged iron materials. The long string of the crossbow mechanism wound around the 3 bow bodies, appearing loose yet emitting a crystalline blue-white glow under the snowy night. The cold resistance-level warriors easily identified that it was a fusion of snow bamboo silk and high-level Tengjiao tendon, the top bow-making materials in Great Xia. The long string, winding over the 3 bow bodies, measured over 100 meters at a glance, not to mention its thickness of over 20 centimeters. More curious was that the bowstrings of the 3 bow bodies eventually wound to both sides of the iron wheel car, leaving a total of 5 ropes, each over 10 meters long. So this is where the bowstring material was used during this time. If it's not the divine arm bow, what is it? Didn't the Lord say it was called the divine machine crossbow? Can any normal person draw this bowstring? Those ropes must be for drawing the bow. Zhao Kangcheng, Zhao Yuan, and all the other cold resistance-level warriors immediately realized why the camp supply department had banned the exchange of bowstring materials lately. Some quick-witted ones guessed the use of this divine machine crossbow by looking at those 5 ropes. Li Chuanling, Li Tiancheng, Hu Jing, Xia Chuan, 4 groups pull the 4 ropes below quickly. At this moment, Xia Hong had no time to explain much to everyone. He rushed to the front of the divine machine crossbow, tied the foremost rope to himself, and then forcefully controlled the first bow body of the divine machine crossbow, placing a 3-meter-long special silver iron arrow, pulling it with might, then aiming the arrowhead in the direction of the Cold Ruins tripod. The named groups of Li Chuanling at this moment also realized, swiftly ran to both sides of the iron wheel car, pulling up the 4 ropes simultaneously, mimicking Xia Hong's action by tying the ropes to themselves. Accumulate power. Krialek. At Xia Hong's command, over 100 people in the 4 groups exerted force at once, causing the bowstring of the divine machine crossbow to drive the rollers, producing a loud noise. Combining the basic strength of over 100 cold resistance-level warriors, it accumulated to at least 400 jin, and with Xia Hong leading, the force applied to the divine machine crossbow's bowstring was at least 500 jin. F-woom. Ultimately, the bowstring couldn't withstand the force and snapped, causing shock waves that directly sent many soldiers around the iron wheel car flying, spitting blood continuously. Everyone else fall back. Xia Hong immediately issued a warning, then rotated the divine machine crossbow, aiming the iron arrow in the direction of the Cold Ruins tripod. Like the other over 100 cold resistance-level warriors, his hands were already bleeding, yet he gritted his teeth, not letting go of the rope tied to him. The other 4 ropes were used to draw the bowstrings via the rollers, exerting pressure on the divine machine crossbow. The rope tied to him was the final trigger, specifically customized for him by Mu Dong, requiring at least 80 jin of basic strength to draw. It seems slow to describe, yet everything happened in a flash. Release. Xia Hong swiftly aimed in the direction of the cold ruins tripod, shouted, and directly released the rope tied to him, simultaneously retreating quickly to the back of the iron wheel car. Simultaneously, over 100 people below also released the ropes. Whiz! The force from the ropes was channeled through the rollers, instantly resetting the bowstring, exerting over 500 jin of force, producing an immense tearing sound from the divine machine crossbow. The power from the 3 bow bodies transferred completely to the special silver crossbow arrow at the front. Whoosh! The silver crossbow arrow, measuring 3 meters long, was more of a long spear than an arrow. As it launched from the crossbow mechanism, it didn't make the typical whooshing sound of an iron arrow, but instead unleashed a violent airflow that ignited the air along its path, leaving a straight trail of fire in midair, heading toward the cold ruins tripod in the valley. This arrow dimmed the entire world. Everyone felt as if the surrounding temperature suddenly surged. The terrifying wind brought by that Wolf King earlier was nothing compared to the fierce wind generated by this arrow. It was 3 to 4 meters above the ground, yet along its path, not only was all the accumulated snow lifted into a white mist, but even the ground was upheaved, leaving a narrow trench 5 to 6 meters deep. Xia Hong, the one who fired the arrow, along with Li Xuanling and over 100 other participating cold resistance-level warriors, plus the rest who did not partake, including the soldiers of both forces, were instantly dumbfounded. Even those advanced cold beasts attacking the army formation, noticing the horror of this arrow, halted their movements, turned their gaze this way, their eyes filled with dread and fright. Splashy. The cold ruins tripod had half of its body buried underground, supposedly rendering Xia Hong's shot without a target, as he aimed above the tripod's body. However, unexpectedly, he hit it. Chapter 840, Chapter 327, Beast-Tide Battle, Wolf King and the Hidden Move, White Do Goo's Dead End, Part 5. Because the iron arrow flew above the cold ruins tripod, a fierce white wind suddenly rushed over from afar, right to the top of the cold ruins tripod. From that fierce wind extended a wolf claw, which first swatted away the long-tailed rodent from the ground, and then extended a second wolf claw to hook onto the body of the tripod below. It was at that moment that the long arrow shot from the divine machine crossbow hit its target. Howled. A tragic, painful wolf howl echoed from the fierce wind. At this, everyone present not only heard clearly, but also saw the true form of the cold beast within the fierce wind. Is it the Frost Wolf King? It must be, it's hovering in midair. Beast King, there's actually a Beast King. Its waist and abdomen were hit by the Lord, haha. Within the fierce wind, the Frost Wolf King, covered in silver, smooth fur, had indeed been pierced through the waist and abdomen by the 3-meter-long crossbow arrow, and the wound was oozing crimson blood. The Frost Wolf King was glaring intently towards the divine machine crossbow, face full of fear yet clearly conflicted, seemingly contemplating whether to give up on the giant tripod below. Stop dawdling, keep accumulating power. However, Xia Hong clearly gave it no chance to think. Once the cold resistance level group reacted, they immediately grabbed the rope for the second time, vigorously pulling back to accumulate power. At the same time, Xia Hong had once again followed the same method, remaneuvering the first bow body, stringing the silver arrow, and targeting the Frost Wolf King again. Howled. The Wolf King, astonishingly, still wasn't planning to give up the holy tripod. It let out a sudden roar, hooking onto the giant tripod with a wolf claw, attempting to escape to the south. After the roar, the group of intermediate and advanced frost wolves attacking the military formation on the right became even more frenzied, launching a fierce assault on the army once more. Meanwhile, the Snow Mane tribe in the back didn't react much. Even the leading group of advanced Snow Manes showed signs of retreat in their eyes. As expected, they're not from the same group. It can only command the cold beasts of its own tribe. Xia Hong glimpsed the reaction of the Snow Mane tribe from the corner of his eye. Immediately a trace of joy rose on his face, and he loudly commanded everyone once more. Release. SSSD. The taut bowstring returned, and the second crossbow arrow was released once more with a whistle. Thwack. Greed can get you killed, a saying equally applicable to cold beasts. The Frost Wolf King, having been hit in the waist and abdomen by the first arrow, was already considerably slower in its southern escape, couldn't dodge the first arrow, let alone the second. The fiery arrow shot through its neck, shattering a large layer of spikes on its neck, pinning it directly to the barrier of the basin. Whimper! This time, the sound from the Wolf King was not just tragic. It twisted its neck desperately, trying to free itself from the basin's barrier, its voice clearly tinged with panic and fear. Continue accumulating power. Meanwhile, Xia Hong already had everyone start accumulating power for the third time. Ayo, ayo, ayo. The struggle of the Wolf King on the ground lasted only 3 or 4 breaths, barely freeing the crossbow arrow lodged in its neck, ready to take the cold ruins tripod airborne and escape. Release. The third crossbow arrow. No, Xia Hong didn't shoot a crossbow arrow this time. He actually used the cold blood blade in his hand, placing it directly at the front end of the crossbow arrow. The sheer force carried by the crossbow arrow at launch directly wrapped around the cold blood blade and shot forward without needing special fixing, flying straight towards the Wolf King that had just stood up. Thwack! The cold blood blade, along with the crossbow arrow, simultaneously pierced through the Wolf King's tail, pinning it once more to the same spot, on the barrier of the basin. Howled! The Wolf King still attempted to summon its tribe of cold beasts to attack Xia Hong. However, after being pinned by the cold blood blade this time, it struggled twice and quickly realized something, turning to look at the cold blood blade stuck in its tail, eyes full of terror. SSD. The cold blood blade was actively siphoning its blood. All right, you all go slaughter the cold beasts. No need for the divine machine crossbow anymore. As Xia Hong finished his words, he had already dashed swiftly towards the Wolf King. Li Xuanling and all the cold resistance level crew released the rope, splitting into 2 groups to begin supporting the army's right side and back. Even the Beast King was dealt with. So the outcome of this battle was more or less determined. Everyone's spirits lightened up instantly. Only a few stronger members managed to spare a glance at what was happening with Xia Hong's group. At this moment, Xia Hong was already standing on top of the Wolf King's body. Noticing the Wolf King's struggle becoming increasingly intense, he stomped a foot on the handle of the cold blood blade, continuing to secure it to the basin. Power surmounts 100 manes, yet overall might is evidently inferior to the Wolf King within Longshan's silver mine. Not controlled, seems boosted to Beast King realm by that white Dugu. Turning to look at Yangyuan Peak to the south, Xia Hong's face broke into a cold sneer. The idea for the divine machine crossbow was one he suggested to Mu Dong, but there was an issue with finding a bowstring material sturdy enough to withstand his power until 2 months ago when Long Mountain became a part of Great Xia, and Mu Dong discovered the spinal cord of advanced striped tiger. The spinal cord of the advanced striped tiger, upon being melted to a liquid form under high temperatures, can increase the resilience of snow bamboo silk. Intertwining it with high-level Tengjiao tendon produced a bowstring capable of withstanding over 500 manes of force. Upon this realization, Xia Hong immediately knew the opportunity to resolve the Yangyuan Peak issue had arrived, regardless of what tricks the White Dugu employed. It was futile. 500 manes. Though unclear about the precise realm strength of Beast Kings, no matter how formidable, 500 manes were enough to crush the majority of them. Among the opponents I've faced so far, purely in terms of strength, only that red carp monster from Xing River might rival this divine machine crossbow, and with it, numerous challenges could be effortlessly overcome. Underfoot, the vitality of the Wolf King had completely dissipated. Xia Hong directly pulled out the cold blood blade, hefting the Wolf King's corpse, hurling it towards the direction of the army. The crash upon the Frost Wolf King's corpse hitting the ground reverberated loudly, and the group of intermediate and advanced frost wolves assaulting the army on the right immediately ground to a halt. As for the Snow Mane tribe in the rear, they recognized the corpse on the ground as the Wolf King, and without a sliver of hesitation, promptly turned tails and fled. The rout of the Frost Wolf group swiftly followed. Demolish the army, kill as many as you can, all counted toward contribution value, show your prowess. I won't intervene. By command of Xia Hong, the Cloud Jiao Army, Dragon Martial Army, along with over 200 cold resistance level individuals, erupted instantaneously with fervor, drawing weapons, pursuing the beast tide. Differently from before, currently, these cold beasts lacked any fighting spirit, only knew to flee, making the hunt significantly easier than before. Advanced cold beasts offer over 10,000 contribution value, intermediate ones over 4,000. Such a rare chance couldn't be missed easily. Xia Hong didn't concern himself with the pursuit of cold beasts. Instead, seating himself cross-legged at the edge of the cold ruins tripod, he ingested a blood sore pill for healing, then turned his gaze towards Yangyuan Peak to the south, a flicker of cold light passing through his eyes. With the beast tide resolved, next, it's your turn. Just a beast king alone trying to safeguard itself. Where could it be so simple? The thick fog area to the south was already thinning considerably, seemingly indicating that White Du had exhausted all its tricks. Chapter 841, Chapter 328, Unexplainable Anxiety. Jade Du Stone, Li Xuanling's Panic. Although the Wolf King has been executed, there are still at least over 140 advanced cold beasts around the lowland, plus more than 600 intermediate frost wolves and snow manes. Of course, these cold beasts are currently scattering in all directions. On the wide open snowy plains, it's certainly impossible to annihilate them all. Li Xuanling led over 200 cold resistance-level soldiers. Xia Chuan commanded the Cloud Jiao army, and Yuan Dao led the Dragon Martial army, effectively carrying out the task of wrapping up, just trying to kill as many as possible. After taking the blood sore pill, Xia Hong sat cross-legged on the spot, recovering for an hour. Li Xuanling and over 200 cold resistance-level soldiers slowly approached with their prey, and after waiting for more than 10 minutes, the Cloud Jiao army and the Dragon Martial army also regrouped. Lord, the surrounding cold beasts have been cleared. 14 from the Cloud Jiao army have died, 28 are severely injured, and 101 are lightly injured. 29 from the Dragon Martial army have died, 42 are severely injured, and 210 are lightly injured. Upon hearing the casualty report that Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao called out, Xia Hong turned his head to look at the army behind, which had been reformed, his expression slightly invigorated. The total number of beasts against us tonight has exceeded 4 digits, not to mention there are more than 200 advanced cold beasts among them. Even without discussing the gains, just this casualty data is enough to prove the strength of the Cloud Jiao Longwu 2 armies. The effect of using a small beast tide for training has initially become apparent. As long as the army continues to be cultivated, no matter how large the beast tide is in the future, it can be handled easily. Well done, we'll do the post-battle summary when we're back in Xia City. Let the soldiers immediately rest in place for half an hour, pack up their prey, repair bows and weapons, and prepare the solidified fire oil. In half an hour, join me to advance towards Yangyuan Peak. Understood, my lord. Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao nodded simultaneously, and quickly returned to the rear of the military formation to issue orders. Xia Hong then turned his head to look at Li Xuanling and the others from the cold resistance level, and said, "You also prepare the solidified fire oil you have. That White Du will definitely have some tricks left. Be careful not to fall into any traps." "Yes, lord." Although they came with the cold ruins tripod tonight, Xia Hong, seeking stability, still had everyone carry a dozen pieces of solidified fire oil. The half-hour passed in a flash, and seeing the army all set, Xia Hong immediately stood up, first storing the cold ruins tripod inside his body, then turned to face everyone and ordered, "Move out." He led over 200 cold resistance levels at the front, with the army escorting the divine machine crossbow cars following right after, advancing together towards the southern Yangyuan Peak. Without Xia direct road, the marching speed of the army on the snowplain was naturally not that fast. Moreover, considering the beast tide just came from the southern Yangyuan Peak, this area had been trampled beyond recognition, further increasing the difficulty of marching. Xia Hong estimated that it would take at least an hour for the army to arrive. If he only brought over 200 cold resistance levels, or went over by himself, he could naturally get there quickly, but Xia Hong did not do so, choosing instead to continue slowly approaching with the army. Looking at Yangyuan Peak, Xia Hong had a slight change of expression, turning to find Peng Bo in the crowd behind, and asked, "Peng Bo, you told Xia Chuan that Yangyuan Peak was formed more than 90 years ago, after a giant dewdrop fell from the sky and hit the ground, right?" Upon hearing this, Peng Bo immediately replied, "Yes, my lord, that's true. This rumor has been passed down for 4 generations in our Yanglu. I also heard it from my father in my early years, who seemed to have learned it from his ancestors." Hearing this answer, Xia Hong furrowed his brow and continued to ask, "How much more do you know about that dewdrop? Tell me everything." Peng Bo said with a wry smile, Lord, although I am the leader of Yang Lu, I really don't know much about this matter. If there's anything special, it is indeed just one point, which is since setting up the base on Yangyuan Peak, the Yanglu camp has never been disturbed by a single cold beast. Not even once, not a single cold beast mistakenly wandered in. Absolutely not, I can confirm. After listening, Xia Hong immediately fell into thought. Peng Bo is only in his 50s. Naturally impossible to know such details about a rumor from over 90 years ago, and it's decent enough that he can relay this much. No, this point should be considered crucial. A camp that has not been disturbed by a single cold beast for over 90 years is not normal in the ice abyss, and from the astonished expressions on the faces of the people of Great Xia at this moment, this much is clear. The white Dugu only revived this April, which means before then it was in an unconscious state. Otherwise, the Yanglu base wouldn't have lasted so many years. At that time, the cold beasts didn't dare to approach Yangyuan Peak, probably just because they were afraid of its dormant body. After reviving in April, it attracted a large number of cold beasts to protect itself by releasing the mist, isolating outsiders, mainly our surveillance. From its behavior of controlling Wuxing, Han Jiulai, Li Xuanxiang, and others, it can be seen that its body should have no mobility, and even having no combat power is debatable, otherwise it wouldn't have remained there waiting passively. The one speaking was Li Xuanling, who clearly saw that Xia Hong had his concerns and quietly expressed her speculation. Seeing that Xia Hong gave no response, she continued softly. With the cold ruins tripod and solidified fire oil, you don't even need to set foot on Yangyuan Peak yourself, just. I'm not afraid of it. Xia Hong shook his head and chuckled, continuing. I understand everything you're saying, but I actually think that the cold beasts might not be afraid of the white Dugu's body at all. Yangyuan Peak over the years may not have been devoid of cold beasts wandering in by accident. It's just that the people in the Yanglu base haven't seen them. Chapter 842, Chapter 328, Unexplainable Unease, Jade Du Stone, Li Xuanling's Panic Part 2. Through the harvest after killing Wuxing and Li Xuanxian, Xia Hong can basically confirm that the white Dugu and the cold apple Jade Du are definitely related. Its true form is highly likely a precious artifact that continuously produces cold apple Jade Du. Cold beasts also like Jade Du. Following this logical deduction, for over 90 years, there shouldn't have been a case where no cold beasts intruded in front of Yangyuan Peak. Most likely, those intruding cold beasts disappeared in some way, and the people at the Yangluo base never discovered them from beginning to end. Attaching itself to objects without any personal strength, it can only achieve controlling humans by beguiling their hearts. This white Dugu, like the yin-yang mirror, also belongs to the category of crafty demon. 3 years ago in Beishuo Town, Yang Li explained the differences between the 5 types of deceitful monsters: crafty, nightmare, fierce, divine, and demon. Xia Hong learned this from Luo Ming, and combined with prior encounters with the wooden puppet and Jing Xian, now has a certain understanding of deceitful monsters. All 5 deceitful monsters originated from the long-disappeared civilization of the ancient Abyss era. The crafty demon is transformed from highly skilled craftsmen of the ancient Abyss era, with killing preferences that are bizarre in myriad ways, and methods that are mysterious and unpredictable. The fierce demon, on the other hand, is transformed from the artifacts in the hands of great figures of the ancient Abyss era. Its methods penetrate the human heart, acting out of obsessive thoughts, and defeating it yields related items. Initially called Lai, later found to be better fit as fierce demon, and hence renamed. Then what are you still worried about? Xia Hong's thoughts were interrupted by Li Xuanling. He looked up towards the direction of Yangyuan Peak and said in a deep voice, I'm just thinking about what other tricks it might use. After all, it's a fierce demon about to break through to an advanced level, so it must have some methods. Xia Hong can clearly feel that, although the white Dugu's methods are stronger than those of the yin-yang mirror, they should still be of the same level of deceitful monster. Although it temporarily conjured a Beast King, all of the Frost Wolf King's actions were extremely autonomous, clearly not under its control, so its abilities likely still linger at the cold resistance level, merely forcefully creating this Beast King. Now that the Beast King has been dealt with by the Divine Machine Crossbow, logically there should be no obstacles left to resolve it, yet Xia Hong has an inexplicable uneasy feeling. It's too quiet. From when the cold beasts were attracted by the cold ruins tripod to resolving the beast tide, during the entire process, the white Dugu did nothing. It seemed to have completely entrusted its safety to those cold beasts. This is not in line with the behavior of a deceitful monster. Xia Hong furrowed his brows tightly, seeing Li Xuanling looking at him with worry. His expression became a bit peculiar. With a slight smile at the corners of his mouth, he asked, "Are you worried about me?" This sudden teasing left Li Xuanling clearly caught off guard. Her whole face turned red in an instant, instinctively wanting to scold Xia Hong. But at the moment, the over 200 cold resistance level soldiers of Great Xia were behind them, so she forced the words back. The Lord is connected to the safety of tens of thousands in Great Xia. The concern, I reckon, is far more than just mine. Hearing Li Xuanling's attempt to cover up her feelings, Xia Hong could hardly suppress his laughter. To maintain her dignity, he refrained from further teasing. The cold resistance level soldiers at the back evidently saw through Li Xuanling's insincerity. The older, more composed ones like Hu Jing and Peng Bo turned their heads to look elsewhere. The younger ones, unable to hide their feelings, like Yuan Cheng, Qiu Peng, and Yue Feng, couldn't help but lower their heads in chuckles. Standing behind Li Xuanling, Li Tiancheng's face was full of smiles, clearly pleased with the warming relations between her and Xia Hong. The little episode between the couple did not affect the march. In about an hour, the army was less than 300 meters away from the northern ravine side of Yangyuan Peak. Earlier, since Xia Hong had already put away the cold ruins tripod, a dense white fog still lingered upon Yangyuan Peak at this moment. Xia Hong moved to the front, and after staring at Yangyuan Peak for a few moments, he directly turned around and ordered the back. "All right, Xia Chuan, Yuan Dao, lead the army. First choose the right position, prepare the bows and arrows, and await my command." "Yes, sir." Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao directly turned back to the rear formation, gathering the army at a higher ground near the ravine, quickly setting up nearly 2,000 giant bows, all aiming in unison at the position of Yangyuan Peak. Bang! As soon as the Cloud Dragon Army and Dragon Martial Army were ready, Xia Hong immediately took out the cold ruins tripod and placed it at the very center of the army. Simultaneously, the 10 cold beast stakes turned into golden armored thunder Kui, guarding all around the army. Buzz! At the moment the cold ruins tripod ignited, the white fog over Yangyuan Peak was dispelled at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was nighttime, and without the white fog, the visibility on Yangyuan Peak was instead reduced. At this moment, whether it was the soldiers of the two armies or the over 200 cold resistance level elites at the front row, they all knew that the white Dugu was entrenched on Yangyuan Peak. Thus, looking at the area behind the ravine, shrouded in darkness, their eyes involuntarily filled with gravity. Aim at Yangyuan Peak, empty the quivers, shoot the arrows. With all preparations complete, Xia Hong had no further words of verbosity, directly issuing the order. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The soldiers of the two armies simultaneously released the bowstrings. The first volley, nearly 2,000 iron arrows, flew directly towards Yangyuan Peak. The rain of 2,000 iron arrows was nothing compared to the 4 or 5 kilometers encompassing Yangyuan Peak, leaving most soldiers somewhat puzzled as to why Xia Hong had them do this. Chapter 843, Chapter 328, An Unexplainable Unease, Jade Du Stone, Li Xuanling's Panic /3. But soon they understood. After the first wave of arrow rain all landed on the north slope of Yangyuan Peak, columns of thick black smoke slowly rose from the ground, and the soldiers of the two armies suddenly changed their expressions. All the iron arrows used tonight were coated with solidified fire oil. Such a violent reaction can only mean that there's a strange entity hidden underground at Yangyuan Peak. Is the entire Yangyuan Peak the body of that white Dugu? It should be. Didn't Lord Peng just say that Yangyuan Peak was formed by that drop of dewdrop hitting the ground, and that dewdrop is the body of the white Dugu? That's too big. Yangyuan Peak spans nearly 5 kilometers. The cold resistance level group behind Xia Hong watched the thick smoke rising from Yangyuan Peak in shock, their eyes filled with astonishment. A strange entity of such size indeed exceeded their expectation. Keep shooting arrows until the arrow quiver is empty. Xia Hong's voice inspired the soldiers of the two armies to speed up their arrow shooting. The Great Xia Army's standard issue for arrow quivers was 50 iron arrows, and together the soldiers' iron arrows totaled approximately 100,000. 2,000 iron arrows are nothing to Yangyuan Peak. 100,000, that's different. especially since they're coated with solidified fire oil. As the coverage of the arrow rain grew wider, the entire Yangyuan peak was suddenly engulfed in billowing black smoke, and in some places, flames started to emerge from underground. Sizzle, sizzle, boom. The first hit spots of the arrow rain burst into a sky-high fire, spreading like a plague around. Within moments, Yangyuan Peak turned into a sea of raging fire. Oh, yeah. A shrill, sharp scream suddenly came from within the flames. It's out. Xia Hong's gaze tightened, a glint flashing in his left eye as he looked towards the source of the sound, while ordering loudly to everyone. Keep shooting arrows, don't stop, and the rest stay vigilant of the surroundings. Upon hearing the order, the soldiers of the two armies increased their shooting speed, while the cold resistance level group quickly drew their weapons, remaining alert of the surroundings, especially towards Yangyuan Peak. As the fire became more violent, the entire Yangyuan Peak began shrinking, and simultaneously, the shrieks of the white Dugu grew increasingly agonizing. Alam, it hurts, it hurts. Ah, spare me, great Xia Lord, spare me. I can offer you endless cold apple Jade, do spare me. Please spare me, I don't want to die. Great Xia Lord, spare me, I'm willing to submit to you in the future. No matter what the white Dugu said in its hysterical crying and begging, Xia Hong remained entirely unmoved, staring at Yangyuan Peak with an expressionless face. After waiting for over 10 minutes, when Yangyuan Peak had shrunk to only a mile in radius, Xia Hong glanced at the soldiers' back arrow quivers, noticing most were left with only their last dozen or so iron arrows, then ordered again. That's enough. Tie all the solidified fire oil on your iron arrows and shoot them all at Yangyuan Peak. Leave none behind. With the cold ruins tripod here, even without solidified fire oil, the white Dugu couldn't stir up trouble. The constantly shrinking Yangyuan Peak was evidently its body, intensifying the fire equated to accelerating its demise. Boom! An increasing number of soldiers shot entire lumps of solidified fire oil at Yangyuan Peak, causing the fire to grow even more ferocious, and the shrinking speed of Yangyuan Peak accelerated. After about 100 breaths, when all soldiers emptied their arrow quivers, Yangyuan Peak, originally a mile in radius, shrank to a circular stone about 100 meters in diameter. The outer layer of the round stone was covered with many stones and soil, but as the shrinking continued, more and more stones and soil fell off, revealing its true form to everyone. The round stone was generally transparent like a droplet of water, with a layer of jade-white phosphorescence flowing on the surface, dazzlingly bright in the night. The round stone was transparent, so everyone could clearly see its center, where a blue flame was burning. Is this the body of the white Dugu? This color, indeed, matches the previous dewdrop plague perfectly. The temperature is very high, and there's also a blue core inside. The white Dugu's voice is coming from the blue flame. After the army emptied their arrow quivers, Xia Hong still did not move rashly, instead continued watching with everyone, letting the white Dugu continue its wailing. No matter how it begged, it was to no avail. The gigantic stone, 100 meters in diameter, continued to be consumed by fire, shrinking until less than 10 meters within about an hour. The entire Yangyuan Peak had vanished, leaving a bottomless pit on the ground. The round jade dew stone, the body of the white Dugu, was still being burned by the flames, floating in midair. The dazzling crystal-like luster of the jade dew stone flickered in the firelight, drawing the attention of everyone, including Xia Hong. Spare me, great Xia Lord, spare me, I can help you. The yin-yang mirror can connect to the dark realm for trading with omnipotent powerful entities. Only I know how to communicate with them. Spare me, great Xia Lord. If you spare me, I'll tell you everything, I'll tell you everything. The white Dugu was still pleading, yet despite how much Xia Hong was tempted, he forced himself to resist it. Yin-yang mirror, dark realm, almighty entities, transactions. This white Dugu evidently possessed a significant amount of information. If it could truly be made to submit, the benefits would no doubt be considerable. Chapter 844, Chapter 328, Unexplainable Unease, Jade Dew Stone, Li Xuanling's Panic, Part 4. No, calm down. I don't have the ability to control the deceitful monster. The more this white Dugu knows, the more schemes it has. If I'm really bewitched by it, I'm likely to end up just like He Yuanhun. At that time, no one will come to help me deal with it. Xia Hong forced down the greed in his heart and continued to observe the white Dugu coldly. Back then, Yuanhun managed to escape from the Jingxian, ultimately because of himself. If he were to be bewitched by the White Dugu today, whether anyone would help him in the future would be uncertain. There was no need to keep such an unstable factor by his side. Moreover, after killing the deceitful monster's consciousness, he could still obtain its original form, just that it would take more time to figure out how to use it. Xia Hong silently watched with the others for another half an hour, and the original form of the White Dugu finally shrunk into a thumb-sized round jade. The flames gradually weakened until they finally disappeared. The moment the flames vanished, the White Dugu's miserable wail also abruptly ceased. Only then did peace completely return above the giant pit. The moment the flames disappeared, the round jade seemed to have lost its spiritual power and started falling toward the bottomless depths of the giant pit. All of you stay here. I'll go down and get the bead by myself. After all this effort tonight, Xia Hong certainly wasn't going to let the jade slip away. After signaling everyone to stay put, he jumped directly into the deep pit. Bang! Xia Hong descended along the mountain wall. After about 10 breaths, he saw the bottom and drew his knife to anchor it into the mountain wall to buffer, finally landing gently on the ground. Over 10 breaths, it must be thousands of meters deep. This pit is so deep. The jade was over 10 meters away, and Xia Hong ran over to pick it up. Unlike the usual cool touch of jade, this round jade in his hand had an intense scorching feel, with a blue flame still inside, as if the heat was emanating from it. It's clearly very hot to the touch, yet the surface remains moist, and this moisture is identical to the texture of cold apple jade dew. Looking down at the crystal-clear bead in his hand, Xia Hong's eyes glimmered with brilliance. As expected, the moist sensation on the jade's surface was probably the key to producing cold apple jade dew. Let's call you Jade Dew Stone. Hope you bring me some surprises. The importance of cold apple jade dew was self-evident. If this stone could continuously produce it, then all the cold-resistant cultivation elixirs of Great Xia would no longer be a concern in the future. After putting away the jade, Xia Hong was about to climb up the stone wall when his peripheral vision caught a glimpse of something white, causing his brows to furrow. This was underground with no snow or ice, so why would something white appear here? Xia Hong walked over and used the cold blood blade to pick it up. An intact skeleton of an intermediate snowman. How could beast bones appear underground? Xia Hong's curiosity grew even deeper, and he searched along this bone, discovering something surprising. Snow manes, frost wolves, striped tigers. There were countless beast bones buried underground, some of which he had never seen before. Judging by their size, they were mostly intermediate cold beast bones, with a few low-level ones. There wasn't a single jade bone from an advanced cold beast. The bones appeared normal, with no signs of injury or struggle, and the death seemed normal. After examining some of the bones, a question popped into Xia Hong's mind. How did these cold beasts die? In the 90-plus years before this April, the White Dugu surely had no independent consciousness and no ability to proactively kill so many intermediate cold beasts. Otherwise, the Yanglu camp could not have survived on its body for over 90 years. The problem had to lie in the original form of the White Dugu, the Jade Dew Stone. It seems that this Jade Dew Stone has other characteristics that I'm not aware of. Xia Hong glanced around at the valley bottom filled with cold beasts, a hint of coldness rising in his eyes. Indeed, it's not that Yangyuan Peak has no cold beasts, but rather that these cold beasts couldn't cross that gully outside, all dying underneath. While unclear about the precise cause of death of these cold beasts, Xia Hong was sure that the death was due to the White Dugu. In 90-plus years, the White Dugu lured and killed a massive number of mid- and low-level cold beasts, but still couldn't awaken its consciousness. In April, when Wuxing and Han Jiulai teamed up to attack Yanglu, the death toll was just a few thousand, yet this minimal number was enough to fully revive the White Dugu. He instantly understood why deceitful monsters love killing humans. Killing humans is evidently the most efficient way for deceitful monsters to enhance their power. With a massive amount of intermediate beast bones still stored underground, the fermentation step can be skipped, making them perfectly suitable to make salt. Mu Dong can be notified to bring people over to collect them. Xia Hong took one last look at the beast bones on the ground, then began climbing and leaping back up the mountain wall. Taking less than 100 or so breaths, he saw the opening above. Lord, we've dropped a rope. Grab the rope and come up. A rope was let down along the mountain wall, and Xia Hong immediately grabbed it. With a pull from above, he quickly ascended with the rope. Whoosh! However, just when he was 20 or 30 meters away from the opening, a bright light suddenly shot out from his sleeve. It was all an act. The white Dugu still had some strength left. Xia Hong's expression suddenly changed dramatically as he watched the Jade Du stone fly out of the pit and immediately shouted to the people outside. "Stop the white Dugu! Don't let it escape!" Chapter 845. Chapter 328. An unexplainable unease. Jade Du stone, Li Xuanling's panic /5. After shouting, he immediately dropped the rope, kicked against the mountain wall with both legs and shot upwards, chasing after the Jade Du stone. The cold resistance level members on the north side of the big pit turned pale when they heard Xia Hong's voice. The Jade Du pearl had already flown out, and they quickly drew their weapons and rushed toward it. "It's not fast. Use the solidified fire oil to block it." Li Xuanling, the strongest and quickest to react, jumped to the top of the Jade Du stone, threw a piece of solidified fire oil forward, drew the heavenly transformation sword, and struck the Jade Du stone with a single blow. Clang! Hit again by the solidified fire oil, the white Dugu's scream was now extremely weak, clearly indicating that its remaining consciousness was minimal. Good. At the same time, Xia Hong had just leapt out of the pit. Seeing the Jade Du stone struck by Li Xuanling and flying towards him, he reached out directly to grab it. "You can't kill me, Helia." But just as Xia Hong's hand was about to grasp the Jade Du stone, the white Dugu emitted a frenzied laugh, repeatedly claiming Xia Hong couldn't kill it, and then paused in midair before transforming into a stream of light, flying straight back towards Li Xuanling. "With your current skills, I can't kill you." With the suppression of the cold ruins tripod, the white Dugu was obviously not fast enough. With only a thumb-sized stone true form, it couldn't do anything but await its fate. Even without me, Li Xuanling alone could capture it. Xia Hong didn't take its words to heart, assuming it was just a last hysterical act. He jumped to the edge of the pit, kicked off the ground and shot upwards, flanking it with Li Xuanling to corner it. However, just as Li Xuanling was about to grab it, the Jade Du stone suddenly changed direction, flying towards Li Xuanling's lower abdomen. Whoosh! Li Xuanling was caught off guard, but realizing the Jade Du stone was aiming at her lower abdomen, her face turned extremely anxious, and she retreated frantically while shielding with her sword. This scene made Xia Hong's brow furrow sharply. "What are you doing? Don't dodge. This creature's power is nearly exhausted. It can't break through your skin membrane." Li Xuanling only managed to say, "I," before stopping, seemingly having something she couldn't say. The Jade Du stone first touched the heavenly transformation sword, then, like an eel, transformed into a stream of light, bypassed the sword, and went directly into Li Xuanling's belly. This scene stunned all the cold resistance level members below. Even Xia Hong was dumbfounded. The Jade Du stone had gone into Li Xuanling's belly. "I have a child in my belly. I have a child in my belly. It can't go in. Can't go in. Please save the child, Xia Hong." Yet Li Xuanling landed and held her belly, her face full of panic. Her words left everyone in shock. "What did you say?" Xia Hong's expression was beyond stiff. He rushed to Li Xuanling's side and grabbed her arm, questioning angrily. Li Tiancheng, Meng Ying, Yue Kaiyan, Cheng Guang, and other members of the Long Mountain cold resistance level also realized what was happening and rushed to Li Xuanling's side. Especially the elder Li Tiancheng, who pulled Li Xuanling's arm from Xia Hong, felt her pulse for a moment, and his expression turned extremely grim. "At least 2 months and it's twins, Xuanling. How could you hide something this important from us? Being pregnant, why did you come out with us, you? 2 months, meaning it was before the October migration." Li Xuanling, tears streaming down her face, couldn't say anything, just held her belly, looking at Xia Hong, clearly extremely worried about the child inside. "To the cold ruins tripod quickly." Xia Hong couldn't utter any reproaches at this point. He grabbed Li Xuanling and rushed near the cold ruins tripod, placing her hands on the tripod wall. It's working, it's working, it's afraid, it's afraid. The reaction inside my belly is getting smaller, getting smaller." Feeling the change inside her, Li Xuanling was overjoyed and after a moment couldn't resist looking at Xia Hong, asking, "With the cold ruins tripod, it shouldn't harm my child, right?" Looking at the once proud daughter of Longyu now showing such a typical woman's stance, Xia Hong's expression softened as he nodded gently, reassuring. It'll be fine. Let's go back first and see if there are other solutions. Finishing saying this, he didn't bother with Xia Chuan and the others, collected the cold ruins tripod, and took Li Xuanling back towards Xia City. The lady is pregnant. The white Dugu, seeing the lady's pregnancy, deliberately went into her belly, trying to hold the lord back. Why did the lady hide such an important matter? After all, Long Mountain was newly conquered. The lady should still be upset with the lord, right? Twins if something happens. A dog's mouth can't spit ivory. With the lord's ability, how could anything happen to the lady? The two young masters will definitely be born safely. Slap, right, it was thoughtless of me. The two young masters will surely be fine. Heaven helps those with good fortune. All right, no more chatter, pack up, head back to Xia City. Xia Chuan interrupted everyone's discussions, looked back at the departing Xia Hong and Li Xuanling with a face full of concern. Chapter 846, Chapter 329, Refining the Jade Dew Stone, Eve of the Cold Element Festival. Xia City Political Hall. Upon returning, Xia Hong immediately released the cold ruins tripod. Without waiting for a call, Li Xuanling quickly walked to the cold ruins tripod and sat down cross-legged, obediently feeling the situation in her abdomen. I haven't ignited it, don't be in a hurry. With a slight movement of his mind, Xia Hong injected system coal resources into the cold ruins tripod, and a great fire instantly rose within, quickly increasing the temperature around them. Hiss. At the moment the great fire rose inside the tripod, a faint burning sound was immediately emitted from Li Xuanling's body, gradually intensifying and causing a pained expression to slowly appear on her face. How is it, can you endure it? Seeing the painful expression on Li Xuanling's face, Xia Hong's expression immediately became tense, ready at any moment to extinguish the cold ruins tripod. Li Xuanling kept her eyes closed, still looking pained, but managed to speak with effort. It's effective, it seems to be, being refined. Being refined. Xia Hong's brows slightly furrowed as he looked up at the cold ruins tripod, his expression somewhat uneasy. The suppressive effect of the cold ruins tripod on deceitful monsters was undeniable, but the concern was whether this refining process would affect the fetus in her abdomen, which was his greatest worry. Ultimately, the abdomen belonged to Li Xuanling, and whether it had any effects was something only she could know. Xia Hong could only quietly wait by her side. Li Xuanling's face kept the expression of pain, with large beads of sweat seeping from her forehead, and Xia Hong patiently wiped them dry again and again. After half an hour, Li Xuanling's tightly furrowed brow finally relaxed, and she slowly opened her eyes, her face showing both relief and a hint of clear unease, speaking worriedly. Just now, when it had consciousness, it kept trying to impact the fetus in my abdomen, but I blocked it by mobilizing my qi and blood. This fire of the cold ruins tripod seems to have burned away its remaining consciousness. I can't expel it from my body, so I can only allow it to be refined. Xia Hong placed his hand on Li Xuanling's abdomen, sensing for a moment and noticing there was no foreign matter inside anymore. He immediately asked, "After being refined, did your body show any abnormal signs?" Li Xuanling shook her head gently, her expression somewhat confused. Xia Hong frowned. Li Xuanling had no experience dealing with deceitful monsters, but he had encountered them 3 times before. Accurately speaking, he had defeated them 3 times. Deceitful monsters being refined was not something special, like Xia Chuan's black blade and transparent silk thread, and the puppet inheritance, the Yang mirror in his left eye, Yuanhun's Yin mirror in his right eye, all were likely results of refining deceitful monsters. Li Xuanling refining the Jade Dew Stone in her body should have brought benefits as well. Not showing any abnormal signs was itself an unusual occurrence. Is that Jade Dew Stone very important to you? I'm sorry, Don't overthink it, I'm just worried about the 2 fetuses in your abdomen. The Jade Dew Stone, no matter how important, can't be more important than them, can it? Upon hearing Xia Hong's words, a gentle expression immediately appeared in Li Xuanling's eyes, and she then raised her hand to cover her abdomen softly, speaking gently. The consciousness of the Jade Dew Stone has been completely eliminated, rest assured. The fetal movements are still very weak, but I can feel that they haven't been affected. Although the cold resistance level doesn't have the function of inner vision, It provides a strong ability to perceive all organs and each meridian within the body, which made Li Xuanling affirm this confidently, as the fetus indeed seemed to be fine. Moreover, even if Li Xuanling overlooked something, there was always the cold ruins tripod. As Xia Hong turned to look at the cold ruins tripod, his expression gradually calmed down. Reflecting on past encounters with deceitful monsters, the cold ruins tripod's performance has never disappointed him, as its suppressive force on deceitful monsters exceeds any other item. Cold ruins tripod level 4 can significantly raise the temperature within a 5-kilometer radius by burning coal, eliminate elementary and intermediate deceitful monsters, intimidate advanced deceitful monsters, strongly attract cold beasts, and consume coal resources for forging metal. The White Dugu, after all, is only an intermediate deceitful monster, and the Cold Ruins tripod possesses the power to eliminate it, so there shouldn't be any problem. Xia Hong deliberately checked the description of the level 4 Cold Ruins tripod, clearly seeing eliminate elementary and intermediate deceitful monsters, and finally felt completely at ease. I will place the Cold Ruins tripod in the star-picking hall. No, I will put it in your bedroom. You shouldn't wander outside during this period. Just stay in Xia City to nurture the fetus and cultivate, waiting until the child is safely born. After the recent shock, Li Xuanling naturally had no objections at the moment, and hearing Xia Hong's commanding tone, 2 faint blushes rose on her cheeks. She nodded slightly and responded in a voice as soft as a mosquito's. Got it. Han Yue, escort Madam back to the star-picking hall for rest. Han Yue, who had been waiting outside the hall doors, immediately walked in upon hearing the command. Evidently having heard the conversation inside the hall, she solemnly assisted Li Xuanling, guiding her around the hall towards the star-picking hall. Xia Hong sat alone in the grand hall, staring at the cold ruins tripod, his brow tightly furrowed. The White Dugu was resolved, but it seemed incomplete. At least until the 2 children are normally born, he dared not be careless, constantly monitoring the situation in Li Xuanling's abdomen. Cultivation, the higher the cultivation level, the stronger the power, which naturally provides greater protection for the fetuses. Before the children are born, still need to find ways to elevate her cultivation as much as possible. Let her first break through, 27 manes, mid-stage cold resistance cultivation, just 5 manes short of late stage, and 37 manes short of the peak. Chapter 847, Chapter 329, Refining the Jade Dew Stone, Cold Element Festival Eve 2. Li Xuanling's talent is even stronger than her father, Li Tianhua. As soon as she breaks through to the cold resistance level, her basic strength is already at 8.5 manes. According to the cultivation progress at this level, if she wants to perform a second blood and flesh reorganization, her basic strength needs to at least rise to 34 manes, and for the third time, it would be 68 manes. The idea of solving the issue of cold apple jade dew with the White Dugu has fallen through. For now, we can only rely on those 2 cold apple trees in Long Mountain. Together, they produce about 280 drops of jade dew a year. Even if all of them are used to refine Yangyuan pills, they can produce at most around 2,600 pills, which is not enough. Yangyuan pills may sound like a lot, but considering that the number of people at the cold resistance level in Great Xia has already surpassed 200, it's completely insufficient. Moreover, this number is not constant. The Earth-digging realm limit in Great Xia, setting aside other factors, just the Cloud Dragon Army and Dragon Martial Army already have around 2,000 people. From the situation in the past 2 months, if the quota of the Martial Arts Academy is fully opened, someone can break through every day. By then, the number of people at the cold resistance level will surely increase at a startling rate. I can only let the hunting teams put more effort into it, exploring deeper into the resource areas of Redwood Ridge, Arrow Bamboo Forest, and Long Mountain might reveal a few more cold apple trees. By then, it will address the shortfall of Yangyuan pills. Xia Hong's mind stirred slightly, and he called up the system interface. Camp Great Xia Level 0. Lord Xia Hong. Cultivation, late-stage cold resistance 48 manes. Territory population, 419,782. Resources, wood 127.24 million coal, 77.62 million iron 9.21 million silver 210, gold 0. Open Building 7, Cold Ruins Tripod Level 4, Martial Arts Hall Level 3, Alchemy Workshop Level 3, Artifact Refining Workshop Level 3, Black Soil Wall Level 2, Heroic Spirit Monument Level 3, Yellow Earth Level 1. Unopened Buildings 2, Small Wooden Table, Rough Iron Chain. Seeing the cultivation section, Xia Hong sighed lightly. The higher the cultivation, the slower the growth rate. By the end of June, when dealing with the White Dugu's assassination attempt, his basic strength was already at 45 manes. In the past 5 months, it has only increased by 3 manes. For the third round of blood and flesh reorganization, reaching the peak of cold resistance requires an additional 24 manes. Even at the rate of 3 manes per 5 months, it will take at least 3 more years, and who knows if the cultivation progress will slow down further. To quickly break through to the Xianyang level, I must find another way. Despite the slow cultivation progress, the camp's development is quite promising. Territory population, 419,782. Seeing the change in population figure, Xia Hong's eyes lit up instantly. Back in October, when the entire population of Long Mountain was incorporated, he remembered the number being just over 410,000. In less than 2 months, it's close to breaking 420,000. With the base population of Great Xia increasing, the natural population growth rate is also soaring rapidly. Apart from silver and gold, the other 3 resources are in overflow state, and the camp has many reserves which I haven't converted. It's a pity they can only be spent on Yellow Earth and Black Soil Wall. Those 2 silver mines in Long Mountain aren't something to consider for now. We can only keep searching for other silver mines. The 2 silver mines in Long Mountain, one is occupied by a single Frost Wolf clan, consisting of over 10,000 members, hundreds of advanced ones, and a genuine Frost Wolf king. The other, while lacking a beast king, is seized by 6 cold beast clans, with a total of more than 40,000 cold beasts. Neither is an easy target. With Great Xia's current strength, even with the divine machine crossbow, Xia Hong has no confidence in seizing one of them without heavy casualties. Mining silver is ultimately for the camp's development. Sacrificing too many people for it would be counterproductive. Thus, until breaking through to Xianyang level, I can only keep looking for other silver mines. With the 3 major resource areas currently held by Great Xia, it shouldn't be too difficult to find silver mines as long as done steadily. The total number of people in the earth-digging realm has already surpassed 40,000. The hunting teams are conservatively estimated to consist of over 1,500 units, though mostly mid- and low-level teams. However, with the number of cold resistance level individuals increasing, the number of advanced teams is bound to surge. Once there are plenty of advanced hunting teams, the camp's exploration progress of the 3 resource areas will undoubtedly advance rapidly, and it shouldn't be too difficult to find a silver ore vein with relatively low mining difficulty. Silver, we need to solve the silver resource issue quickly. With silver, other buildings can continue to upgrade, and there's also small wooden table activation requirements, silver 1,000, wood 30,000. The conditions to activate the small wooden table are truly stringent. This is the reason Xia Hong hasn't addressed this building for a long time. Silver, when converted into system resources, equals 1 point for every 5 pounds. Points of silver amounts to 5,000 pounds of silver. Embarrassingly enough, the entire Longyu can't come up with this huge amount of silver. If no silver ore veins are found, they may have to trade from other camps. However, camps with silver resources are likely more powerful than Great Xia at its current stage. Why would they trade with you? Also, in an environment like the Ice Abyss, randomly interacting with camps stronger than yourself often doesn't yield favorable results. I still need to find a way from these 3 places. Xia Hong turned, looking at the Great Xia territorial map behind him, focusing his gaze on the 3 resource areas. After a brief moment of contemplation, he lifted the cold ruins tripod and walked towards the star-picking hall. The second year of Great Xia, December 30. As the year-end approached, the events occurring at Yangyuan Peak were actually known only to the 200-plus cold resistance level individuals, and the nearly 2,000 soldiers from the Cloud Jiao, Longwu 2 armies. The vast majority of people in Xia City were unaware of what happened at Yangyuan Peak. They were immersed in the joy of the approaching year-end. What kind of festival is the Cold Element Festival? Just look it up in the Xia Li and you'll know. The Cold Element Festival is our Great Xia's annual traditional festival, signifying the end of the old year and the beginning of the new one. It officially starts at midnight on the last day of the year and lasts until the 15th day of the first month. 15 days, anything to celebrate. During these 15 days, the lights in the valley are never turned off day or night. Everyone doesn't need to go out for logging or hunting and can stay in Xia City with their families. Plus, on the first night, the Lord will host a grand banquet, and the camp supply department will provide a bunch of rare delicacies for everyone to eat and drink freely. Is there such a good thing? Of course, why don't you go ask the people from the camp supply department? Then I should ask, and I should save some stomach space for tonight. Oh yeah? For most people who have just integrated into Xia City, the year-end isn't a new concept. Since Longyu has an era start, it naturally has its own new year. However, they obviously don't value it as much as Great Xia does. Whether at Long Mountain or other 10 camps, people clearly don't treat the year-end as an important occasion. It wasn't until they noticed that people in the inner city were beaming with happiness that someone couldn't resist asking, which led to the news of the Cold Element Festival spreading. Most people are ordinary and pragmatic. Tell them the significance of the Cold Element Festival, and it won't matter much. But tell them there's a grand banquet tonight with free food and drink, and they'll become instantly interested, all looking forward to it. Oh yeah? Minister, will the Cold Element Festival proceed as usual this year? While people were filled with joy and anticipation, in the political hall of the main building, Xia Chuan heard Qiu Peng's question but furrowed his brows tightly, remaining silent for a long time. He and Yuan Dao had returned with over 200 cold resistance levels on the 30th during the day, and the soldiers from the Cloud Dragon and Dragon Martial armies were expected to arrive by night. They should be departing from the beehive now. Upon returning to Xia City, he intended to seek out Xia Hong for information. However, without Xia Hong's decree, unless there was an urgent matter, no one was allowed to intrude upon the star-picking hall, not even himself as the minister. So from returning to Xia City until now, he hadn't seen Xia Hong at all. The situation of his two nephews was also unknown to him, and he could only anxiously wait in the political hall for Xia Hong to come out. When Qiu Peng asked about this, the implication was clear. Xia Hong might be preoccupied with the matter of Li Xuanling's pregnancy. Holding a cheerful cold element festival like last year seemed inappropriate. Never mind, let's keep it simple this year. Besides, the population has increased, let's. No need to simplify, Xuanling is fine now. From now on, the Cold Element Festival should only consider the consumption of the camp supply department. Do not worry about me. Hold it as usual every year. Before Xia Chuan could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Xia Hong's voice. He sprang from his chair, turning to look at the star-picking hall, his face full of joy. Madam is all right, and both young masters are safe too. Splendid. Knowing that Xia Hong's offspring were safe, Qiu Peng also showed immense excitement. Chapter 848, Chapter 330, Longshan System Gathering, Simplified Sex System. Just as everyone in Xia City was preparing to welcome the Cold Element Festival. In a gathering hall on the second floor of the main building, there was a large group of people gathered here, sitting silently on chairs with very solemn expressions. Up front were Meng Ying, Zhang Ping, Yue Kaian, Cheng Guang, Zhou Yuan, Sun Yan, Song Kang, the seven Vajra of Long Mountain. In the middle were Su Shicheng, Zhang Jialing, Yuan Shan, Yuan Ning, Lu Yushan, Wang Tao, Liu Chang, 14 strong cold resistance level men. And at the back were Cheng He, Meng Tian, and dozens of younger individuals from the next generation. Clearly, this was a gathering exclusive to the Longshan system, and all present were key members of the former Longshan camp. Everyone's gaze occasionally swept toward the door, clearly waiting for something. Hello. Suddenly, an old laugh came from the door, and Li Tiancheng quickly walked in from outside, his face full of irrepressible laughter. Everyone stood up, and the seven in front, seeing Li Tiancheng's expression, immediately realized something, and all their solemn faces instantly turned joyful. Elder Li, is Madam all right? Surely nothing's wrong. Mother and child must be safe, otherwise Elder Li wouldn't be smiling so happily. I told you the two young lords are blessed, nothing will happen. That's wonderful, as long as the two young lords are okay. Clearly, everyone was gathered here to inquire about the situation with Li Xuanling's unborn child. Li Tiancheng walked to the front of the crowd, smiling and nodding as he began to speak. The Jade Dew Stone has been refined, Madam is fine, mother and child are safe. Looking at the old Longshan people, Li Tiancheng's expression was somewhat complex, and he gently sighed. You shouldn't be gathering here. If the Lord finds out, it will be difficult to escape accusations of forming cliques. Everyone was briefly stunned by his words, then turned to look around, immediately realizing the reason Li Tiancheng said this. Meng Ying was obviously prepared and spoke loudly. Elder Li is overthinking. We are gathered here not for any other matter, but simply because we are concerned for Madam and the safety of the two young lords, wanting to hear news from you firsthand. Even if the Lord knows, he won't blame us. Song Kang beside him nodded and added, It's natural for us to be worried. The two young lords are tied to the camp's legacy. What crime is there? Upon hearing Song Kang's words, the expressions of the Longshan people became subtle. Then they reacted and began nodding in agreement. Exactly, the two young lords, after all, are the Lord's eldest sons, destined to take over Great Xia in the future. Our concern is justified. Even if the Lord marries other women in the future, the status of the two young lords as the eldest sons remains. Tied to the legacy of Great Xia, we naturally need to be concerned. Forgive my disrespect, but the Lord will eventually grow old, and one of the two young lords will undoubtedly take over as Lord. Showing concern for them is caring for the future Lord. What crime is there? Hearing everyone's words, Li Tiancheng's old face flushed slightly, his pupils revealing obvious excitement. Last night at Yangyuan Peak, upon learning Li Xuanling was pregnant, the fear in his heart as an external grandfather was probably no less than that of Xia Hong as a father. What Li Xuanling's unborn child signifies, he understands much more clearly than Meng Ying, Cheng Guang, and these people. It is Xia Hong's eldest offspring, indisputably the first in line to inherit, and destined to be the next lord of Great Xia. And this future new lord has half the bloodline of the Li family. This is the main reason why the old Longshan faction gathered here tonight. From the moment Li Xuanyan and Li Xuandu left Long Mountain, the downfall of the Li family was inevitably irreversible. During these 2 months in Xia City, Li Tiancheng had already attempted to contact Li Hu several times, but this grandson's hatred for the Li family seemed to have deeply permeated his bones. Changing his mind in the short term is certainly impossible. Under such circumstances, hoping to raise the banner of the Li family again in Xia City, to gather the old followers of Meng Ying and Cheng Guang together again, is already hopeless. But now, Li Xuanling's unborn twins provide Li Tiancheng with a renewed opportunity, an excellent chance to reunite the old Longshan followers within Great Xia. It's not that he likes forming factions. Humans are organizational creatures, let alone in a Great Xia now with a population exceeding 400,000. Arriving in Xia City in October, over the first 2 months, Li Tiancheng had come to roughly understand that the internal factions within Great Xia are extraordinarily numerous and complex. The largest and most favored by Xia Hong is certainly the Redwood Ridge faction. The Redwood Ridge faction splits into 2 smaller groups, one that followed Xia Hong from the earliest days at Mud Slope, representatives like Yuan Cheng, Qiu Peng, Yue Feng, Su Ning, Lin Kai, Lu Yang, totaling around 50 cold resistance level individuals. This faction should be considered the largest in terms of influence currently, spanning the 7 departments, cold resistance level, down to various hunting teams. They almost have people everywhere. The other small group consists of old followers from the original Valley Rojal camp, represented by Luo Yuan, Zhao Long and his brothers, Cheng Feng, Bai Dongying, Bai Wuding, Tong Xinglong, with also more than 40 cold resistance level individuals, led mainly by Deputy Director of the Hunting Department Luo Yuan, with Cheng Feng and Bai Dongying in charge of the Harvesting Department. Their influence is not small either. The 2 subgroups of the Redwood Ridge faction boast cold resistance level numbers exceeding 100, nearly half of the total number of cold resistance level members in Great Xia, and both parties maintain harmonious relations on a daily basis, rarely experiencing any conflicts, which is the primary reason why they are heavily relied upon by Xia Hong and Xia Chuan. Chapter 849, Chapter 330, Longshan System Gathering, Simplified Sect System /2. Next, there is the Mirror Valley faction. Mirror Valley faction, represented by Yuan Dao, includes more than 30 cold resistance level members such as the Han Guang brothers, Zhu Yuan, and Meng Yi. Not only does it have Yuan Dao as the Hunting Department Director, but also a Civil Affairs Department Director Zhu Yuan, controlling 2 of the 7 departments. Although it cannot compare to the entire Redwood Ridge faction, it is currently the 2nd largest force within Xia City. Then there is the Huayuan faction represented by Xiao Qingcheng, the Beehive faction represented by Chen Yingyuan and Peng Bo, the Longbei faction represented by Hu Jing. Of course, no one would admit to having formed their own faction, but in daily camp decisions and the distribution of important resources, people from the same system will inevitably hold the same position, which is undeniable. This is not partisan maneuvering, but rather human nature. At the peak period of Longshan camp, the population exceeded 100,000, so Li Tiancheng sees through these matters very clearly. He understands very well that this has nothing to do with the governance system of Great Xia. Whenever any camp grows large, these issues are bound to appear. Given this, it is natural for these old members of Longshan to band together, not to confront other groups, but mainly to ensure their group's interests are not harmed by others. Their only previous reason for banding together was Lord Li Xuanling. It wasn't a particularly strong bond. In the ice abyss environment, a powerful lord like Xia Hong could not have just one wife. As Great Xia expands, he is bound to have other women in the future. Whether Li Xuanling can always maintain her current position is actually uncertain. But with heirs, and two of them at that, the situation is entirely different. Li Tiancheng shook off the thoughts in his mind, turned around to survey everyone in the hall and spoke in a deep voice. It seems you all have your own thoughts. Great Xia does not have our Longshan succession system. The Xia Code only specifies that heirs have inheritance rights without discussing the hierarchy. I will advise the Lord on a chosen day, and I hope you will also say a few words. How about that? Upon hearing Li Tiancheng's final request, everyone started to respond. Elder Li, don't worry. Heir succession is a natural course of events, and we will definitely advise the Lord with you. The Longshan succession system was established by the old leader Tianhua. It not only prevents fratricide but stabilizes people's minds. It is beneficial both for individuals and the camp. Advising the Lord is only right. Indeed, we have no ulterior motives. Great Xia now has over 400,000 people, with countless families with many children. Establishing the Longshan succession system would be a great thing. Upon hearing everyone's words, a smile appeared on Li Tiancheng's face. He didn't continue talking, only turned around to look toward the star-picking hall behind. I'm just in my 20s, and your second uncle is already considering the successor for the new lord with these people. Isn't that a bit hasty? In the residence directly behind the star-picking hall, Li Xuanling sat next to the cold ruins tripod. Hearing Xia Hong's jest beside her, her cheeks immediately turned slightly rosy. But she quickly regained her composure and defended. Second uncle and the others are just worried about me. If they were truly conspiring, they wouldn't gather in a place like the second floor of the main building. Don't worry, I won't blame them. Seeing Li Xuanling a bit tense, Xia Hong first reassured her. Indeed, the main building is only about 30 meters from the star-picking hall. This gathering on the second floor of the main building by the Longshan group can't be deemed conspiratorial, and the fact that they did not take any precautionary measures during their entire conversation clearly shows they are not afraid of being overheard. Given that, it's not proper to blame them. What do you think about the Longshan succession system? Do you think Great Xia should also emulate your Longshan and establish this system? Hearing Xia Hong's question, Li Xuanling's expression instantly became subtle. Her immediate reaction was clearly to agree, but she probably felt that would reveal strong personal interests, so she held back her words. Then she pondered for a moment and continued, Meng Ying and the others aren't wrong. The Longshan succession system indeed greatly aids in stabilizing people's minds, especially for those in higher positions, with more resources at their disposal. Often their offspring are more than one. Without the Longshan succession system, there would be many tragic fratricides, something that Long Mountain experienced before. So your elder brother, with neither the strength nor the intellect, still inherited your father's position as leader. Hearing Xia Hong's jest, Li Xuanling's expression suddenly froze. The matter with Li Xuanyan is a typical negative example brought on by the Longshan succession system. Anyone with a discerning eye could easily see that, not to mention compared to Li Xuanling, even Li Xuanxiang and Li Xuandu were clearly superior to him. But because of the title of the eldest son, Li Xuanyan eventually took the leader's position. The subsequent events played out as expected. During the April alliance, Li Xuanyan's indecisiveness was evidently a display of incompetence. At that time, if it had been someone else, the outcome would likely have been entirely different from today. Li Xuanling was rendered speechless at this moment because her actions openly opposed the Longshan succession system, as she herself had personally pulled Li Xuanyan down from the leader's position. So how could she have the audacity to say she agrees with this system now? But after hesitating for a moment, Li Xuanling still spoke to Xia Hong. My elder brother's case is just an exception. At this point, she paused her speech, then looked directly into Xia Hong's eyes and continued, also, you should trust me and trust yourself. The children we have together are destined not to be mediocre. As a mother, Li Xuanling clearly doesn't care much about her image for the sake of her son's future. Hearing this, Xia Hong raised his eyebrows but didn't speak. The Longshan succession system is actually a simplified sect system. Since Long Mountain had no distinction between legitimate and illegitimate, it resulted in the emergence of the Longshan succession system. The core content was that the eldest child had the right to allocate all of the father's heritage, essentially meaning the eldest son inherited everything. Those with a conscience or those close to their younger siblings would naturally allocate part of the heritage to them. Those without a conscience or who were hostile toward their siblings had no such obligation. It's hard to say if the sect system is or isn't necessary at this point. The population of Great Xia is growing rapidly, making the emergence of nobility unavoidable. This 9-rank title system set by Xia Hong is essentially a recognition of the nobility class and also provides a path for everyone to rise into nobility. In the future, such noble status will rise layer by layer, and inevitably a day will come when there will be no more titles to confer. At that time, setting hereditary titles will also be unavoidable. In that case, the sect system seems necessary to establish. Xia Hong turned to look in the direction of the main building, a curious look suddenly appearing on his face. Li Tiancheng and his people are now targeting me. What they're trying to do with this Longshan succession system is, frankly, all for Li Xuanling's unborn child, a problem Xia Hong doesn't intend to solve anytime soon. He is only 22 years old now, and his lifespan at cold resistance level is over 100. Not to mention, he will break through to Xianyang level, and with the existence of the camp system, the upper limit of his cultivation will definitely be high, and his lifespan will continue to increase. Does he need to consider the issue of a successor? Xia Hong shook his head and said to Li Xuanling, tell your second uncle and them to stop having such crooked thoughts. I acknowledge the usefulness of the Longshan succession system, but Great Xia doesn't need it at the current stage. Tell your second uncle not to bring it to me. When the time is right for this system to emerge, it will naturally do so. Upon hearing this, Li Xuanling's expression instantly froze. She was clearly associating it with something unpleasant and looked increasingly angry at Xia Hong. Don't overthink it. Weren't you confident just now, saying your child is destined not to be mediocre? With you and your second uncle and that big group of people backing him, I shouldn't really have to establish this system, right? Li Xuanling gritted her teeth and remained silent, evidently disagreeing with Xia Hong's words. Then you better not flirt outside. Thud. A huge drumbeat suddenly resounded from above the star-picking hall, cutting off Li Xuanling's words. The drum sound was deafening. Not only was the star-picking hall affected, but the entire valley where Xia City was located seemed to tremble with it. Thud, 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 thud. Then a series of 8 drumbeats continued. The Cold Element Festival is here. Let's go to the political hall. Li Xuanling was already dressed up. Her words just now were unfinished, seemingly somewhat indignant, but seeing Xia Hong already leading the way out, she could only grit her teeth and follow. Chapter 850, Chapter 331, Zhu Shun Huang Tiangxi, the third Cold Yuan Banquet of Great Xia and Xia Yuzong. In our city's main street, Zhu Shun led his wife Huang Yunyang and their 3 children Zhu Shen, Zhu Wen and Zhu Wen, heading towards the main building. Zhu Shun was dressed in a muted red Xuanling robe, and his wife and 3 sons were also clearly dressed up. The family of 5 stood out strikingly on the main street as many passers-by recognized them and greeted them. Master Zhu, madam, a prosperous Cold Yuan. Brother Meng, you're too kind. A prosperous Cold Yuan to you too. Captain Zhu, a prosperous Cold Yuan. Is that your wife and 3 sons? Indeed, a prosperous Cold Yuan, a prosperous Cold Yuan. Master Zhu, dressed like this, are you heading to the political hall for a banquet? Ha, just received a notice from the camp supply department that tonight, the nobles can go to the political hall and celebrate the Cold Element Festival with the Lord. Master Zhu, madam, you'll be enjoying the feast tonight. While Zhu Shun courteously responded to the greetings from passers-by, behind him, his wife shone with satisfaction, obviously very content with her husband's status in Great Xia. The expressions of their 3 children were full of pride and admiration as they occasionally looked up at Zhu Shun's silhouette, their reverence and respect for their father clearly evident. Huang Yunyang glanced at the streetlights on both sides, slightly gripping her silk sleeves, fearing this was a dream from which she might suddenly awake. Reflecting back 3 years, her husband Zhu Shun was no more than a regular worker in Huangzhou camp, unable to cultivate. Back then, they couldn't even guarantee 2 meals a day, living days of hunger without proper clothing or restful sleep. But from the moment Huangzhou merged into Great Xia, and Zhu Shun was selected as one of the first members of the hunting team, their family's quality of life began to soar like a rocket. More food than could be eaten, more clothes than could be worn, a widening and increasingly comfortable living environment, various exquisite furniture items, and not just their 3 children, even she herself was able to eat beast meat freely and cultivate. It was safe to say that in terms of food, clothing, and shelter, everything turned upside down. Hunger, lack of clothing, sleepless nights, all of this became a thing of the past. Now their pursuit was how to eat better, dress more beautifully, and sleep more sweetly. If these previous changes were merely elevations in the material realm, then 2 months ago, on the first day of October when her husband was conferred as the 9th-ranked Dark Feather Marquis by the Lord, it brought satisfaction in both material and spiritual aspects. Across the camp, only 2 were conferred as 8th rank, and 27 as 9th-rank Marquis, with her husband Zhu Shun being among them. At first, she didn't realize the importance of this. But later, as the camp supply department sent over the ceremonial dress for the 9th-ranked Dark Feather Madam, 2 maids and 5 attendants, alongside Zhu Shun's noble stipend, she gradually comprehended. Furthermore, with her husband bearing the title of Marquis, she as the wife must be addressed as Madam, and even their 3 children gained titles, akin to heirs in Longyu camp. Compared to the enjoyment at the material level earlier, the psychological satisfaction brought about by this rise in status was particularly intense. Thus, Huang Yunyang often felt as if she were dreaming, fearing she might wake up one day to find herself back in that dark cave beneath the mountain. "Father, why have you stopped walking?" Huang Yunyang's thoughts were interrupted by the voice of her eldest son, Zhu Shen, and when she looked up, she noticed her husband had suddenly stopped walking and hadn't continued to move forward. "You go ahead to the first floor of the main building and wait for me. I'm going to see your aunt." Upon hearing Zhu Shun's words, Huang Yunyang turned to look, her face momentarily freezing. They had arrived near the main building, at the doorway of residence number 7. The owner of residence number 7 was Huang Yang, the former leader of Huangzhou camp, who had heroically sacrificed himself in the Hive Guard battle 6 months ago. Huang Yang was not only Zhu Shun's old leader but also his brother-in-law, as his wife Zhu Mei was Zhu Shun's only sister. At the inception of the hunting department, the Zhao Long team was founded by Huang Yang and Zhu Shun, with Huang Yang leading, but with his death in battle, Zhu Shun naturally became the captain, which is why people on the street referred to Zhu Shun as the captain. "Father, we also want to see Aunt. Aunt loves me the most, I also want to see her." "Enough, let your father go alone. Everyone come with me to the main building, hurry up." Hearing the youngest son Zhu Yun and daughter Zhu when also clamoring to go, Huang Yunyang immediately reprimanded them, grabbing their little hands and leading the eldest son Zhu Shen briskly toward the main building. With Huang Yang having been dead for 6 months now, the Huang family was left with Zhu Mei and Huang Tianxi, an orphan mother and son. So worried that Zhu Mei might feel sad seeing their entire family, they were careful, taking turns visiting Zhu Mei alone. At this moment, naturally, they wouldn't bring their 3 children together. Zhu Shun remained in place, looking at the glow coming from within the residence, sighing slightly before walking up and gently knocking on the door. "Who is it?" After a series of knocks, a somewhat childish voice sounded from inside, probably around 8 or 9 years old. The child seemed busy with something based on the slightly breathless tone. "Tianxi, it's me." Uncle is here. I'm coming to open the door, Mom. Uncle is here." Chapter 851, Chapter 331, Zhu Shun Huang Tianxi, the third Cold Yuan Banquet of Great Xia and Xia Yuzong. Upon hearing the excited sound of his nephew running towards the gate, Zhu Shun couldn't help but reveal a joyful smile. Who? The gate opened, and a small fist suddenly punched straight out, aiming squarely at Zhu Shun's chest. Zhu Shun raised his eyebrows, not blocking it with his hand, but instead relaxed his pores slightly, lowering the defense of his skin membrane, and smilingly used his chest to catch the fist. Puh! This ordinary punch naturally couldn't cause any harm to Zhu Shun. However, after catching this punch, Zhu Shun's expression instantly froze as he looked down at his less than 9-year-old nephew Huang Tianxi, his face full of shock. 8,900 pounds, good kid. Huang Tianxi was bare-chested, wearing only cotton pants, clearly having been cultivating just now. Seeing the shock on his uncle Zhu Shun's face, a hint of pride appeared on his. He chuckled and said, "I told you, uncle, you'd definitely be surprised this time." At this moment, Zhu Shun was not merely surprised. He knew very well what less than 9 years old with 8,900 pounds of basic strength meant. The current record for breaking through the earth-digging realm at the Martial Arts Academy is 10 years and 1 month. According to Director Q's words, breaking the 10-year record seems very difficult. Currently, no seedlings can be found throughout the camp. If he remembered correctly, Huang Tianxi still had 4 months to go before turning 9, which meant his nephew had a full 16 months to break the record. This is practically a sure thing. So those seedlings Director Q mentioned included his nephew. Good kid, how did you cultivate so fast? With the Lord's grace and my father's legacy, before breaking through to the earth-digging realm, not only do I have 3 days each month to cultivate at the Martial Arts Academy, but I can also receive 3 beast spirit pills from the camp supply department, and without having to serve, I can focus exclusively on cultivation, so this speed is to be expected. At this moment, Huang Tianxi's demeanor had already returned to normal. Though young, he could switch his attitude effortlessly, and when he mentioned the Lord and his father, a solemn expression appeared, forming a stark contrast to his previous impetuousness, making Zhu Shun, the uncle, somewhat uneasy. But after listening to his nephew, Zhu Shun pondered for a moment, then shook his head and said, "These are all external aids. Your own talent and diligence are what's most important. Your eldest cousin Zhu Shen, I can also send him to the Martial Arts Academy 3 times a month, and I often exchange beast spirit pills and beast meat, refined salt for him at the camp supply department. Yet he just broke through the earth-digging realm last month. Compared to you, he's far behind." Zhu Shun wasn't saying this to comfort his nephew. His eldest son Zhu Shen is 14 this year, just broke through the earth-digging realm. His second son Zhu Yun is 12, with only 7,800 pounds of basic strength. His youngest daughter Zhu Wen just turned 6, and her talent is still unclear. These 3 children of his, in terms of their peer group in Xia City now, are indeed quite good, but compared to the top tier, they are evidently lacking. His nephew Huang Tianxi's talent is clearly comparable to the top tier. Huang Yang truly has successors. "Brother, why have you come?" While Zhu Shun was sighing, his sister Zhu Mei had already walked out from the inner quarters. Upon seeing Zhu Mei wearing the 9th-rank lady's formal attire, Zhu Shun was momentarily stunned, then quickly reacted, asking with delight, "You also received the notification from the camp supply department. Zier is about to go to the main building for a banquet, and I've already prepared the clothes for you. Quickly go change." "Got it, I'm going now." Zhu Mei motioned for her son to change his clothes first, then smiled and nodded to Zhu Shun in response, saying, "Received it. Director Q sent someone to notify us that all individuals with rank may bring family members to the banquet." With Zhu Mei's confirmation, Zhu Shun's face was instantly full of joy. Huang Yang's 9th-rank Dark Feather Marquis title was posthumous, since he wasn't around anymore. Strictly speaking, the Huang family didn't hold a title, only Zhu Mei bearing the 9th-rank lady title. It's normal for the camp supply department to overlook this fact, yet who would have thought that Qiu Peng would extend such a considerate invitation to her? The fact that a widow and her son can receive such importance undoubtedly increased Zhu Shun's loyalty to the great Xia. Though he is at cold resistance level, he often risks his life outside. Who could guarantee that he wouldn't end up like Huang Yang someday? Now knowing that even if he died in battle, his family would still receive attention and care from the camp made him feel far more comfortable. Seeing that his nephew would need some time to change clothes, Zhu Shun paused for a moment, lowered his voice and said, "A Yang's inheritance and pension were considerable, but you and your son still need to continue living. The camp supply department has just stipulated that after death, a title stipend can only be claimed for 3 more years. The mourning period is about to end in half a year. My previous suggestion, you." Brother, don't bring this up again. Zhu Mei's expression suddenly sank, directly interrupting Zhu Shun, not allowing him to finish. Zhu Shun's countenance first froze, then anger surged on his face, continuing. The Lord made it clear during the Xia Li that once the mourning period is over, you can remarry. This is clearly targeting your situation. You're only 29 years old this year. Do you really plan to live alone for the rest of your life? Even if you can't forget a Yang in the short term, at least give me an attitude. 3 years from now, 5 years from now, something. Otherwise, how can I be at ease? Zhu Mei's face was full of stubbornness, lightly trembling lips, seeming to be intimidated by Zhu Shun's anger, lowered her head and remained silent. Chapter 852, Chapter 331. Zhu Shun and Huang Tianxi, the third-year Cold Yuan Banquet of Great Xia and Xia Yuzong Part 3. Seeing his sister in such a state, Zhu Shun's heart softened instantly. He let out a heavy sigh, lowered his tone, and said softly, "Big brother can help you for a while, but you still have a long life ahead. I often travel, and who knows if one day I will meet the same fate as a Yang. If you don't remarry, I'm afraid when I die, I won't be able to close my eyes in peace." "Big brother, please don't say that." Hearing these words, Zhu Mei burst into tears. When their parents passed away, Zhu Mei was only 6 years old. She was basically raised single-handedly by her brother Zhu Shun. Having depended on each other for so many years, how could she not understand her brother's feelings for her? In the half-year since her husband died, her big brother and sister-in-law would basically take turns bringing things to her house every few days. Despite her countless rejections, they continued to deliver without fail every few days. Zhu Mei knew in her heart that Zhu Shun advised her to remarry because he genuinely cared for her well-being, but she just couldn't get past her own inner barrier. "Listen to me, find someone else." Seeing Zhu Mei's expression soften, Zhu Shun thought he had persuaded her. He quickly tried to continue convincing her while the iron was hot, but before he could finish, Zhu Mei interrupted him again. "Big brother, there's no need to say more. I can listen to you on other matters, but not this one. I won't remarry. From now on, I will focus on raising Tianxi to adulthood. I want to see him marry, have children, and smoothly inherit a Yang's 9th-rank Xuanling title. As for anything else, I won't consider it. Life will definitely get better." "And what about the future life for you and your son? A Yang's compensation and inheritance will naturally ensure your life is fine, but it's not enough to support Tianxi's cultivation. He has a high aptitude and is about to break through to the earth-digging realm, so his need for beast meat will be greater. Beast essence pills, refined salt, and the beast blood needed after reaching the earth-digging realm limit will overwhelm you." Upon hearing this, Zhu Mei gritted her teeth and said, "Big brother, it's just as well that I was planning to tell you tonight. I have a basic strength of 20,000 caddies and can enter the hunting team. I also want to join the Zhao Long team." "You?" Hearing Zhu Mei's words, Zhu Shun was speechless with anger. As Great Xia developed to the present day, the lifestyle of men working outside and women at home was basically established. Women mostly engaged in less dangerous jobs like gathering or mining when they went out. Although some women hunted, they were usually unmarried or their husbands were not capable. Even those with titles, unless they had some skills, would solve the issue of forced labor for their family by hiring a few captives. How could they bear to let their wives go out and risk their lives with cold beasts? Forget it. Big brother can't persuade you. If you're determined, I won't say much more. We'll see how you manage on your own in the future." Zhu Shun remained silent for a long time. In the end, he let out a heavy sigh and said no more. He, as her older brother, knew his sister's temperament well. Despite half a year of tireless persuasion, it ultimately had no effect. In the future, he could only support from the sidelines. Fortunately, his nephew truly had good talent. As long as they followed the right steps, inheriting the title shouldn't be a big problem. The Lord has already stipulated that if one is granted a title due to other merits, they must at least achieve 1/3 of the military achievements required for the corresponding title, slaying 166 enemies in battle. Tianxi has excellent qualifications. As long as he can join the battle, I would risk my life to help him inherit a Yang's title." "Big brother." Upon hearing Zhu Shun's solemn promise, Zhu Mei's tears poured out, her heart evidently moved to the extreme. "Tianxi is coming, wipe your face." Zhu Shun said nothing more either. Noticing that Huang Tianxi was already coming downstairs, he immediately reminded his sister to wipe her face, to avoid letting his nephew see that anything was amiss. "Mom, I changed my clothes, let's go." Huang Tianxi was not yet 9 years old. He was already 1.5 meters tall. Dressed in a bright yellow cotton robe with a dark blue beast fur jacket for warmth over it, he didn't wear a hair-binding crown as he was not yet 15. His black hair was tied neatly behind him with thread, giving him a clean and tidy appearance. Knowing the importance of tonight's banquet, he presented a rather solemn demeanor, matched by his sturdy frame, resembling an adult. "All right, let's go together. Yunyang and the others are waiting for me on the first floor. Let's find them first, then head to the political hall for the banquet." Huang Tianxi clearly noticed his mother Zhu Mei's tear stains. He seemed to understand the reason, and recognizing that his mother tried to hide her face, sensibly pretended not to see it. He even deliberately changed the topic, asking Zhu Shun, "Uncle, I heard that tonight at the political hall banquet, the Lord, Minister Xia Chuan, as well as the directors of the 6 ministries will all be present. Is that true?" "Of course, as well as the ones you often mention, Lord Yu Wen, Lord Yuan, Mr. Q. They'll all be there. You'll see them all at once tonight." "That's great, haha." Seeing the excitement on his nephew's face, Zhu Shun shook his head slightly. Now that the population of Xia City has surpassed 400,000, for children like Huang Tianxi, besides seeing the Lord Xia Hong, even the directors of the 6 ministries are rarely seen, so it's not surprising they react this way. Zhu Shun quickly led the mother and son to the main building, but as soon as they entered the first floor of the main building, they were instantly stunned. The first floor of the main building was packed with tables, teeming with a sea of people. Rough estimates put the number at over 20,000 individuals.